perform before another sellout crowd here in Honolulu. They love their football here in Hawaii. And today, you'll see it all live on ABC's Wide World.
Look for the game to get a little more intense late in the third quarter and going into the fourth quarter, because many of these players have brought their families over and they start thinking about that extra $5,000 that goes to the winner. Now, in my first Pro Bowl, a couple of offensive linemen, Larry Little and Gene Upshaw, gave me a little bit of advice. They said, keep an eye on the first-time Pro Bowlers because they tend to be excited and they play a little more physically than the other guys. Well, in this game, we have 31 first-time Pro Bowlers, so Frank, I expect an unusually physically played football game.
All right, O.J., what you're saying is the old heads will have swivel heads today. Working with us, and we're delighted he's with us here at Aloha Stadium. Tim Brandt, he's on the sideline. Tim?
Frank, this is a rare opportunity to talk to these NFL players during the ball game, and I will be roaming the sidelines. I will also talk to 5 former players who were recently elected into the Pro Hall of Fame. And at halftime, I will take an in-depth look at the recently published stories of alleged drug use by some of the New England players and possible solutions to those problems. Frank?
Thank you very much, Tim. Well, this past week has been a time of mourning for the entire nation. All of us devastated with the loss of 7 Americans in the tragedy of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Here now, our stadium announcer with a Hawaiian salute.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the kickoff of the Pro Bowl game, we ask that you please rise and observe the teams and the National Football League. A moment of silence for the 7 shuttle astronauts, including Lieutenant Colonel Ellison Onizuka of Hawaii, who so tragically lost their lives these past weekend.
None of us will ever forget. We extend again our sympathies to the families and the friends of the American 7. Set to go now. The AFC is on your left and the NFC will receive to your right, and back is Ron Brown of the Los Angeles Rams. Led the NFL with over 32 yards per return. He had 3 touchdown returns. A silver medalist sprinter from the Olympics of '84, and here he comes, Ron Brown. Stays on his feet and he moves out close to the 30-yard line, where the NFC will send out their starting offensive unit headed by Phil Simms. Phil Simms opening at quarterback of the New York Giants. Joe Montana was selected to be here in the Pro Bowl, but he was unable to come because of injuries. Let's take a look at the complete lineup now. Walter Payton, we did not know, as we look at Phil Simms, whether he would be available because he came down with the virus overnight, but he is in the lineup along with Roger Craig of the San Francisco 49ers. And what speed on the outside. Mike Quick, wide receiver to the left, number 82, and Art Monk, number 81. Great receivers, great football players. Over the middle to Cosby of the Dallas Cowboys, who fumbles, pulls the ball back in, and he'll have a NFC first down up close to the 40-yard line.
Well, Doug just found a dead spot in the zone defense that time. You know, these defenses are restricted in this game. They can't be blitzing the middle linebackers, and they can't be running weak side zones. That was a conventional strong zone, and Doug just got in beside Mecklenburg for the catch.
You know, they don't do a lot on defense. It is restricted, as Joe mentioned, but last year there were 17 sacks. A Pro Bowl record of quarterbacks in one game. Mark Gastineau had 4 of them, as on 1st and 10. The NFC sends Roger Craig over the left side of the 45-yard line for a 5-yard pickup. And let's take a look at the defensive unit, at least that started, was elected to start. Gastineau, the MVP of the Pro Bowl a year ago. 4 sacks, a safety, and 7 tackles. Not a bad afternoon for Gastineau a year ago. The linebackers, they're fantastic. Perhaps headed by one of the best that ever played the game, Andre Tippett of the New England Patriots. Louis Wright is back as a Pro Bowler, now in his 11th year at cornerback. It's Mike Haynes at the other corner, Cherry and Kenny Easley, and Walter Payton. And he is inside AFC territory near the 49-yard line. And Walter Payton, O.J., I'm sure you're aware, needs 27 yards here in this Pro Bowl to break your Pro Bowl record.
Well, Walter has
perhaps given him a little virus flu last night yourself. Keep him out of this.
Well, I invited him out to dinner, and if he would have gone with me, I assure you he wouldn't be on the field to break my record here today.
First and 10.
Mai Tais.
First and 10, the NFC. Just inside AFC territory. Inside fake handoff by Sims. Looks out in the flat and underthrows Walter Payton. And it perhaps as well he did. Mike Merriweather, a very active linebacker from the Steelers, was out there and in good position to pick it off.
I'll tell you, Sims really wanted to get that ball to the outside to Mike Quick, the wide receiver, but Mike Haynes had excellent coverage on him. He was step for step all the way. He just couldn't get it downfield to him.
Mike Haynes playing in his 8th Pro Bowl. He played in several when he was with New England. And now, of course, with the Los Angeles Raiders. And I think it's pretty universally felt that he is the best defensive back in the game today. Although that is hard to say. But if he isn't, he's right up there with the leaders. Second down and 10. Art Monk goes wide to the right for the Washington Redskins. Quick of the Eagles is split to the left. The wide receivers for the NFC. And almost the first sack of the game, the pressure coming from the Denver Broncos. Rulon Jones on Phil Simms. We're going to see quite a few changes, I'm sure, on both teams tonight. The temperature, 81 degrees. And let's take a look at this from the sidelines. Pressure by Rulon Jones.
Rulon just beats Hill that time, I'm afraid. The guard from the Los Angeles Rams, he just overpowered him, got to his outside a bit, and got by him. I'm surprised that they had so many sacks last year, and I'd be surprised if they had a lot this year because they really can't stunt the inside linebackers. The offensive linemen should be able to pick these guys up.
Third down and 10. Cosby, the tight end, is out. The other wide receiver, James Lofton, is in. Pressure again on Sims. Steps back into the pocket. Fires downfield. It's complete. It goes to Art Monk. He'll have the first down near the 37-yard line of the AFC. Good move by Sims to step back and get that protection.
Well, you know something, Joe? One of the reasons they got so many sacks last year is that it's always tougher to put in a good offense in a game like this. The players only have a week to work out, and consequently the running game will suffer because of the lack of time, and you have to throw the ball. The down linemen on the defense, they realize that. They spread out a little more, and they're pass rushing from the word go.
Do these guys ever bend the rules, O.J.? You know?
We'll see them bent going into the fourth quarter.
We saw them broken a few times, as a matter of fact. First down and 10, the NFC. They took the opening kickoff, and they have moved to the 37-yard line of the AFC. Sims again in and out of the hands of Roger Craig. Rather uncharacteristic of Roger Craig, who was the first player this past season in NFL history to rush and receive for 1,000 yards in the same season. O.J., I remember early in the year, you said that quite possibly could happen.
He's one of the finer runners in this game. I mean, if they featured him running the ball, I think he can gain 1,700 yards.
Don Shula, his 4th Pro Bowl as a coach. The coaches, of course, are here. The losers of the conference championship game. John Robinson coaches, of course, Los Angeles Rams. They lost to the Bears. Shula lost to New England. But Shula has never lost as a Pro Bowl coach. It's second down and 10. Sims tried to get it into Cosby, incomplete. He was well covered. Working back there with him, the Denver Broncos' Dennis Smith.
Well, that's the kind of mistiming, I guess, you'd expect to see in a game like this. Had Cosby turned his head a split second earlier, Phil had the ball out in front. It could have been a completion. But these guys only worked together for 1 week, so you really can't expect the timing to be right on the money.
John Robinson, of course, his first year as the Pro Bowl coach. He has just completed his 3rd year with the Los Angeles Rams. He was a division winner and, of course, was defeated by the Chicago Bears in the playoffs. All these offensive systems are rather simplistic. Many times they are just words. Back to the right, back to the left, sweep right, sweep left. Now on 3rd and 10, Sims from the shotgun, single coverage over there. But Mike Quick was covered well once again by Mike Haynes.
Again, that was a miscommunication there. Mike thought Sims was going to throw the ball in the inside post pattern, and Phil thought he was going to break to the outside.
Here's Hayes and Quick.
You see Quick looking to the inside, expecting the ball, and Phil throws it over his head to the outside. I believe he was supposed to go outside to start with.
Phil, of course, very aware of that free safety being able to roam back there. It looked like he had a great shot to get it in there. Here's Morton Anderson on an attempt of 54 yards. Anderson of the New Orleans Saints had one of 55 yards this past season. Sims is the holder. And it will be short. And the ball will come out for the AFC to the line of scrimmage, and that's the 37-yard line. That's where the AFC will have their first possession of the game. Play action by Fouts. Gets downfield and gets the ball to Largent. And Largent has a first down, and we have Tim Brandt on the sidelines.
Frank, we were just talking to the folks here on the NFC sideline, and Walter Payton really does have the flu. He does not feel well at all, and Walter says he does not know if he's going to be back into the ball game. He feels very sick, very weak right now. So, O.J., your record may be safe. He needs 27 more yards, got a couple early, but he really is sick. He has the flu and may not return.
I'm sure O.J. would prefer, Tim, that you did not mention that to Walter. He perhaps doesn't know that he has yet another record. He's got so many of them, and he can't count them.
The bad news is Walter's going to be around a few more years. He'll be back here.
Oh, yes. At the 49-yard line, first down, AFC. Dan Fouts backfires once again and gets it complete out there to Largent once again, who led the NFL in yardage this past season, now in his 10th year and his 5th Pro Bowl and a great career. Let's take a look at the offensive unit. Dan Fouts holds a lot of Pro Bowl records and a lot of NFL records. 47 300-yard games for Dan Fouts as he's closing in on the passing leaders. Marcus Allen led the NFL in rushing and yardage from scrimmage, had just a sensational year. Great offensive line. Second down and 3. We watch Marcus Allen work over the right side. He'll be short of the first down inside the 43-yard line of the NFC. Just a sensational year for Marcus Allen. I think they thought with the Raiders, Tom Flores, perhaps that they did not want to work him as much as they really had to work him this year, O.J., and he came through admirably.
Well, they changed that whole offense. The Raiders' philosophy over the years is throw the ball downfield. They had to become a ball control team this year because of the problems that Mark Wilson seemed to be having, and Marcus really came through for him.
On our final game of the season, December the 23rd, it was Marcus Allen who slipped by Gerald Riggs of Atlanta to win the rushing title in the NFL. His third down, a long one. Dan Fouts wants a bunch. Checks off. He wanted to go deep to a deep receiver, looking for the touchdown, and finally checks off to Marcus Allen. Good heads-up play by Allen, because Lips, I believe, was the intended receiver.
If he would have thrown the ball to Marcus right away, Marcus would have been in the end zone, because he's behind the guys who are covering him. There's only one man upfield, as you can see. By the time he got the ball to Marcus, Marcus ran out of room and had to go out of bounds.
Well, in a situation like that, as a quarterback, if you have the time, you want to look for the 6 points first, being the deep receiver, and I'm sure that's what Fouts did. He checked his deep receiver, and then he came back to Marcus as a secondary outlet.
Fouts, of course, replaced Dan Marino. Didn't replace Dan Marino, but he starts ahead of Dan Marino because he was injured and couldn't perform, much like Joe Montana, as we watch Marcus Allen work his way down to the 33-yard line, a gain of about 4 to bring up second down and 6. The big man, Randy White, who's been in 9 Pro Bowls in his 11 NFL seasons with the Cowboys, he made the stop.
I expect the draw plays to work fairly well. That's one kind of blocking scheme you really don't need a lot of work on.
Especially with a defense thinking pass most of the time.
Right.
They marked it at the 32, so it's second down and 5. To get it in to Todd Christensen, and usually you can count on the sure-handed Todd Christensen in a situation like that. He's had 3 great years with the Raiders, but he has not come down with the first down. Let's take a look at the starting defensive unit. Leonard Marshall of the Giants had just a sensational year. He had 15.5 sacks. Harry Carson is back at middle linebacker, as is the Giants' Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor, along with Singletary, the 2 Pro Bowl players this year who were the only unanimous choices. Third down and 5 again for Dan Fouts. Finally gets it to Wes Chandler. And Fouts' teammate Chandler takes it down inside the 15 to the 12-yard line, and credit the offensive line for the AFC. They gave Dan Fouts a lot of time. Here he is in isolation.
Right, and Chandler does a brilliant job of reading the coverage and then breaking back to the outside, kind of finding the open spot here. You see him break back out. Fouts, he's not the niftiest of quarterbacks afoot, but he did buy some extra time, too, as well, by sliding a little bit left out of the pocket. But, Frank, you were right on the money there the first time with that offensive line. Without the time, I don't think a quarterback's going to get the ball downfield successfully.
9:22 remaining in the first quarter. The AFC on their own drive. Here comes Marcus Allen, right side. Tripped up, slides down inside the 12-yard line, close to the 11-yard line. Dave Durison of the Chicago Bears, who had just a sensational season for the Bears defensively, was in on that stop. Durson, of course, replaced Todd Bell when Todd Bell held out this past season. Todd Bell, ironically, was a Pro Bowler a year ago at this very same position. Dave Durson took over and under Buddy Ryan, who, of course, now is the head coach of Philadelphia, turned in a Pro Bowl-type performance all year long for the Bears defense. 2nd down and 9. A lot of time once again. And he's checking off once again to Steve Largent. He's inside the 5-yard line. Short of the first down. It'll be 3rd down and 2.
Steve Largent, he continues to amaze me. Every time I think about him, Joe, I think about a ball control receiver, but he's tied with Lance Allworth for having 7,000-yard, receiving years, and he can break that record next year. But for a guy that you think of as being a ball control receiver, that's a lot of yards.
And he's remarkably durable, too. He's been able to avoid the injuries over the years.
Sneaky fast.
Sneaky fast is right.
They're inside the 5-yard line. It's 3rd down and about 3 for the first down, along 2. The NFC defense now can bring their outside linebackers in this situation. Little option play. There's Marcus Allen looking as though he might come with the option play back out to Kevin Mack, but Everson Walls broke that up. He got up and made the stop short of the first down. It's decision-making time for the AFC and Don Shula.
Now, this option play is a play we saw San Diego run successfully this year. But you get down around the 4-yard line, looked like he was going to pitch it. You're thinking about getting that ball in the end zone. And I think Marcus may have done the wise thing by keeping the ball on that play.
He really did. Everson Walls did a good job of taking away the pitch man that time, forcing Marcus to keep the ball.
Well, they now have said that Allen's progress got him up to the first down marker, so it's first down goal to go. And Allen perseveres, gets the first down. The AFC keeps the drive alive. Greg James and Marcus Allen, the setbacks. Allen, he's into the end zone, as he did so often this past season. Marcus Allen has scored first here in the 16th Pro Bowl, taking it in from 2 yards out. That was a good drive. It started back at the 37-yard line. Dan Fouts getting a lot of time to throw the ball behind his big offensive line and using Marcus Allen on the ground. Here is Gary Anderson for the conversion. Ron Stark, the punter, is the holder. And the AFC leads here in the Pro Bowl 7-0. We'll be back with more action in just a moment. On this kickoff team, all pros who don't play on kickoff teams. They don't even like to play on kickoff teams, but they have to today. Gary Anderson hangs it up, and the Rams, Ron Brown from the 5-yard line. Brown up to the 29-yard line, where it'll be first down NFC. Let's join Richard Dent. He's with Tim Brown on the sidelines.
All right, Frank, and the first question I've got to ask you is, after being the MVP of the Super Bowl, the build-up in the game itself, was it tough to gear up for the All-Star game?
No, it wasn't any problem at all. Once you go 24 weeks, you haven't been out of football none for the whole season, so it's no problem at all to get up for this one. Just all party and stuff like that you got to put aside maybe 2 days before the game, but it's been a lot of fun to be here.
Got to ask you, too, about the departure of Buddy Ryan and what that will mean for you and your teammates.
Well, it bothered us emotionally a little bit, but, we got a great team. Buddy built a great team. Mike Dickens built a great team. So, it's just about bringing the coach in that's going to let us go and play football.
Contract situation all squared away?
Not yet, but they're working on it. They'll get it out the way sooner or later, I hope.
All right, Richard. How satisfying was that Super Bowl win?
Oh, that was fun. It's not often you get there, and it's not often to get an MVP. There's only 20 guys got the MVP that I got, and I'm thankful to be in the game to have such an award.
Congratulations,
Thank
Richard.
you.
Frank?
Peyton got 7 for the NFC. A 2nd down and 3. Over the left side, Roger Craig hit at the line of scrimmage and dropped. And Richard Dent talking about Buddy Ryan. I mentioned earlier, Buddy Ryan, the great defensive coach, the father of the 46 Bear defense, has gone on to Philadelphia. The Bears have announced that they have hired Vince Tobin. For the last 3 years, he was with Jim Moore of Philadelphia and the Baltimore Stars. He had, I understand, just signed with New Orleans last week and resigned to take the defensive coordinator job under Mike Ditka with the Bears. 3rd down, almost 3. Sims looking downfield, steps back into a violent collision, and down he goes. Rulon Jones is there, stacks him up. He gets help from Bob Golick of the Cleveland Browns. And the loss is back to the 31-yard line. And a great class, this class of 86. Paul Hornung, that's about time. What a great player he was. Two-time leading scorer. And of course, my colleagues here in the booth remember their induction ceremonies last summer in Canton, Ohio. That town really gets into it. But it is a great class. Kenny Houston, Willie Lanier, Fran Tarkenton also certainly do. And Doak Walker. Dale Hatcher of the Rams to punt for the NFC. Irving Fryer of New England is deep. Whoa. Hatcher takes Fryer all the way back inside the 15-yard line. And down he goes at the 15-yard line as Joey Browner, here as the special teams player for the NFC, did his job. He was down there to make the stop. AFC gets from the 15-yard line. O'Brien hands off to his teammate Freeman McNeil, and another interesting change in the many Pro Bowls I played in. They use alternated quarterbacks by quarter. Wasn't that the case with you, Joe?
Yeah, I don't like this personally as a quarterback. I'd like to get in the game and get the flow of the game going, work more than one series. I preferred working a whole half even as opposed to a quarter on and a quarter off. I can't understand this other than O'Brien's used to working with McNeil.
Historically, they'll rotate the backs every 2 series.
McNeil lost 3, so second down and 13, and McNeil comes right back. And McNeil pursued, gets away from Carson. He picks up yardage close to the 20-yard line, where it'll be third down and 5. Down on the sidelines, Tim Brandt is with Fran Tarkenton, who will be going to the Hall of Fame. Fran Tarkenton, 18 years in this game. Tim?
One of your former colleagues, one of the most electrifying quarterbacks I've ever seen. Congratulations to you being elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Frank.
Thank you. Some people say I ran backwards more than I ran forwards, and that's probably true.
This is a big stay for you over here. I understand you're getting married in a couple of weeks?
In a couple of weeks over in Maui. I come over here every year for about 3 weeks, and this year I'm going to get married. That'd be a good idea.
Especially in Maui. How's the golf game?
Golf game is not doing too well right now, but I'm going to get better.
It has to be satisfying for you after those years of running and chasing and throwing and scoring to finally get into that hall.
It really is very satisfying. I just wish my boy Tinglehoff, who played in front of me for 17 years, would be in here with me because he's more deserving than I am. And I think the linemen sometimes get shortchanged.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Frank.
And will never miss an opportunity to campaign. He's certainly right, however, about Mick Tinglehoff. You saw Mark Clayton a moment ago get the first down completion from Ken O'Brien for the AFC. They're out over their own 30-yard line. Freeman McNeil, single setback, gets the draw call inside and looks outside. Slides out of the 35 to the 37, gain of 6 for McNeil. It'll be second down and 4. Harry Carson of the Giants defensively there.
Watching McNeil run, you know, I was talking to Don Shula yesterday, and I asked him if any of these players surprised him, and he said more than anyone, McNeil. Now, that's surprising because he plays against them twice each season, but he says he works hard in practice. He's quick. He runs so low to the ground, but he was most impressed by McNeil than any of the other guys here.
McNeil has been a hard worker. I've known that being a Jets fan over the years, and he had another great year this year, obviously, being here.
Second down and 4 for the AFC. They lead 7-0. Less than 3 minutes remaining in the first quarter, and surprisingly, we have not had one penalty flag. That is quite a tribute to the players who are performing. They've only worked together really 5 working days. And O'Brien tried to get it out to Kevin Mack, the rookie sensation from the Cleveland Browns. 1,000-yard gainer. That's incomplete. It'll be third down and a long 3 for the AFC. O'Brien, by the way, had a great season. He led the NFL in passing according to the way it's rated. Came up a number 1 draft pick 3 years ago. Didn't play at all his first season. Last year, embroiled in a court battle back in New York. Missed much of training camp, early part of the season. This year, he really blossomed. 60.9% of his completions, 25 touchdowns. But he also was sacked a record for individuals in the NFL 62 times. And he sacked for the first time right here. Inside the 30 to the 27-yard line. First sack of the game, and it was, as you might suspect, Richard Dent. Richard Dent, what a year. 17 sacks, and that was really nothing compared to how he was in the playoffs. Might have been the most dominant player of the playoffs that I have seen in maybe the history of watching the playoffs.
I want to see how these guys are going to cover this punt. I know most of these guys aren't used to this either.
Well, it's a tribute to their competitiveness because on the previous kickoffs, they've done a super job.
Roy Irvin is back. He used to return the punts for the Rams. In fact, was a league leader about 3 or 4 years ago, but this time Ron Stark of the Colts hangs it up high. The fair catch is called for by Urban at the 25-yard line. To throw the football. Puts one up high, intended for Art Monk, racing down the sidelines. Walter has completed a lot of touchdown passes over his career. And he has even taken snaps at quarterback. He did that a year ago when the Bears had a lot of problems. As you might recall, some of the injuries they had with Jim McMahon. He took a couple of snaps in one of their games.
I tell you, that was a beautifully thrown ball. Ray Claiborne just had good coverage on Monk.
What if there's anything he can't do?
He hasn't shown it to me yet. Anyway.
2nd down and 10. The wide receivers, number 80, Tony Hill, James Lofton. NFC stayed on with quarterback Phil Simms of the Giants. They did not make a change. And Simms fires it to the tight end. Gets it there, complete to Jimmy Giles, and he'll have first down yardage at the 40-yard line. Tim Brandt is with Marcus Allen. Well, we had a bit of a technical problem, as you might suspect, and we'll be back with Tim and Marcus in a few moments. Marcus, of course, tremendous season, leading ground gainer in the NFL, leading the NFL in yards from scrimmage. On 1st and 10, Simms hands off to Walter Payton. And Payton will get a couple of yards out to the 43-yard line.
Big Steve Nelson in there. Now, I like Steve. He's been around for many years. I guess this is about his 14th year as a linebacker. And he's been doing a great job. He helped, or his 12th year. He's helped these Patriots get to the Super Bowl. And I'm curious to see whether he's going to hang in there another season, try and get back to that Super Bowl.
Patriots, of course, embroiled this past week in a very celebrated drug story that we're going to delineate for you at halftime, talking to all the principals as we watch Roger Craig of the 49ers take the reception out to the 45-yard line, gain of only 3 yards. It'll be 3rd down and 5. He was hit there by Steve Nelson.
You know, I finally realized what's been bothering me, Joe. I'm looking out on the field and something appears to be different. I think over the last 12 years, they painted the helmets. The AFC would have a big A on their helmets, and the NFC would have a big N on their helmets. And tonight, they're allowing them to wear their own team helmets.
Yeah, I like it better this way. I want to see the different teams out there.
I want to hear that Singletary story about helmets in a few moments from one of you. It's remarkable, all the helmets he shattered. 3rd down and 5 for Phil Simms. He fires a shot over the middle, and James Lofton comes down inside the AFC 40-yard line with a first down. He comes down in the arms of Kenny Easley, and time should expire here in the first quarter. Good football game. We have not had one penalty flag, and these players have only been working together for about 5 days. The NFC will have a first down and 10 at the AFC's 40 when we come back to Honolulu. Wanted and much more. The NFC, first down and 10 as we begin the second quarter here at the Pro Bowl. The AFC in the lead, 7-0. Marcus Allen scoring from 2 yards out. And the NFC is at the 40-yard line of the AFC.
Yeah, that scoring drive by the AFC, Dan Fouts is simply superb. He hit every receiver with his passes. We had 2 drop balls, but as you said earlier, Frank, this is really a well-played football game. No penalties and no fumbles.
Gerald Riggs, 42. Joe Morris of the Giants are in there as setbacks. Number 20 is Morris. Riggs, of course, with the Atlanta Falcons, had a great year. That's Riggs over the left side, and he rumbles to the 33-yard line. Gain of about 7 before Rulon Jones makes the stop there. It'll be 2nd down and 3. No penalties in the first quarter. That was interesting. The stats very similar. Both teams having a couple of long drives. The only difference is the AFC was able to get it in, and they lead 7-0. 2nd down and 3, 33-yard line of the AFC. Joe Morris. And Morris, who really came into his own this year, is to the 32-yard line for a gain of 1, short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and 2, but Morris, 1,336 yards, shattering the Giants' rushing record. Had 21 touchdowns for an NFL high. Giants second-round pick in '82. And in his first 3 years with the Giants, he only carried the football 183 times. Last year alone, O.J. carried 294 times.
You know what I find interesting is that Morris and Phil Simms are the first offensive players from the Giants to make this Pro Bowl since 1972.
It's indeed true. They've had many defensive players, but they are the first 2 offensive players in nearly a decade. Phil Simms. Whoa, that was close to an interception. That was Mike Merriweather, who almost one-handed that football. Simms trying to get that ball away under pressure from Mark Gastineau.
Yeah, and Golick and Rulon Jones and Howie Long were pushing pressure in there, too, on him. Just couldn't get it out in front of him.
It is 4th down for the NFC. And they're in a funny sort of a position. We have trade winds that blow and circle here at Aloha Stadium. Right now, the flags on the goalposts are very still. So on 4th down and a considerable 2 yards, the NFC is going to go with it. Riggs. And Riggs had to get inside the 30-yard line, and this will be totally dependent upon where they mark his progress.
Well, they certainly gave it to the right man. I think Riggs and James Wilder and Kevin Mack are probably the most punishing runners in the NFL.
The crowd, and they're really not a partisan crowd. They just pull for the heroes that they've been watching all season. They didn't like that mark, and the drive is stopped at the 30-yard line as Riggs is short of the first down. AFC will take over, and there is Gerald Riggs, and it was only on Monday night, December the 23rd, as he watched Marcus Allen perform, that he realized that he was not going to be the NFL's leading rusher. But he had a great season, 1,719 yards, second only to Marcus Allen. We'll be right back. Just announced this past week that the Pro Bowl, which has been played here now for many years, will be played here 3 more additional years following next season. So there will be 4 more Pro Bowls that will be played here in Honolulu, and they always turn out a sellout crowd. They love their football. The AFC, 1st and 10 at their own 30-yard line. Dan Fouts remains at quarterback. Looking deep, trying to get upfield to Largent, and he was battling with Leroy Irvin. And the ball thrown out of bounds, incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Well, Largent's sneaky speed didn't fool him that time.
Interesting halftime coming your way. Athlete of the Year presentation to Pete Rose by Wide World of Sports. That report I spoke of a moment ago in the New England Patriots, talking with all the principals, and the Aloha Stadium halftime festivities, and they are rather spectacular. Governor Ariyoshi and his beautiful wife Jean are in the stadium today. They're football fans, and they're delighted the Pro Bowl will be returning. This is Marcus Allen. Not many of them accelerate like Marcus Allen, O.J.
Marcus, he's surprising to look at him. He's built very slight, and he is so strong. I think he's one of the best conditioned athletes I've ever been around. And what's surprising to me, I think it may be the first time in history a guy led the league in rushing and caught over 60 passes. He caught 67 passes this year.
Never missed any length of playing time at all because he is slightly built for the kind of work that he was forced to do with the Raiders this year. He got 5 yards, so it'll be 3rd down and 5 for the AFC. He'll continue to lead the NFC here in the 2nd quarter with 13 minutes, a little less than 13 minutes remaining. 7-0. Fouts under pressure. Reads it well and is picked off. And this is Browner of the Vikings. He came to this football game as a special teams performer, selected as a special team performer. Fouts was trying to get the ball to Ozzie Newsome. Browner stepped right in front of it, raced into the end zone. We are conversion of away from a tied game. I don't think Fouts even saw him, Joe.
No, he probably felt him. Quarterbacks work out develop a knack of feeling pressure, and so Dan let it go. But it was a slight underthrow. Had he gotten the ball over top, it could have been completed.
Tell you about Joey Browner. He led his team in tackles this year. He had 184 tackles, and when you consider a guy like Lawrence Taylor led the Giants in tackles with just 104 tackles, he was quite active this year.
To tie it up, Morton Anderson. Phil Simms is the holder. High snap by Hilgenberg. And it bounces off the crossbar and gets through for the conversion. And we have a tie game at 7 and a very happy Joey Browner.
IBM presents You Make the Call. Joe Ferguson of the Bills retreats into his own end zone, and then, to avoid his safety, he intentionally grounds a pass into the field of play. Now you make the call. Where do you spot the ball? Any foul committed by the offensive team behind its own goal line results in a safety. Spot the ball at the 20 for a free kick.
Allen. Irving Fryer is the principal, standing at the goal line. He's flanked by Louis Lips and Deron Cherry of Kansas City. Anderson puts it up high. Fryer will bring it out from the 3-yard line. And Fryer to the 22-yard line, where it'll be first down and 10 AFC.
What's interesting, the next time you see a kickoff is to look at the two guys on both sides nearest the ball, because normally on a 45-man roster, the 44th and 45th guy who makes the team has to play that position. And here we have all-stars. And Joe, you recall the first time we had a special teams meeting in a all-star camp. Who's going to play that position? Nobody wants that position.
Hey, we had one guy that wouldn't even kick off. Berlin Biggs didn't want to kick off unless he got more money. He said, heck, I don't want to run down there.
Money distribution here, of course, 10,000 to the winner, 5,000 to the loser. On first down and 10, Allen found a little opening, squirts out close to the 30-yard line for a gain of 8 before he is dropped there by Durison. It'll be second down and 2.
What a story Dave Durison was. His second stringer coming into the season. Todd Bell decided not to come to camp, and here he is in the Pro Bowl.
Second down and 2. Tied at 7. 11 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the first half. The setbacks, Marcus Allen and Craig James. And Allen, Richard Dent reigns all over Allen. They'll mark the progress at the 25-yard line, but Dent carries Allen all the way back inside the 20-yard line.
Two offensive linemen were standing around looking at each other, and John Hanna was confused with Brian Holloway, and those two fellows shouldn't be confused. They play on the same team during the regular season.
And they can't be out of shape. They played just 2 weeks ago.
That was just a good play by old Richard Dent.
Well, it was debatable if they played the second half 2 weeks ago.
Third down now and 7. The loss of Allen by Allen back to the 25-yard line. Craig James will be the single sack setback now for the AFC. Bounce again. Has the time. He finds the receiver, and again is Steve Largent. He's close to an AFC first down. Lawrence Taylor defending there. Lawrence Taylor, 5 years in the league out of North Carolina. 5 Pro Bowls. And as I mentioned earlier, along with Singletary of the Bears, the only 2 unanimous players in the Pro Bowl today.
Well, you'd like your receiver always to get enough yardage for the first down, and Largent cut it close this time, but being the wily veteran that he is, he picked it up.
First down, AFC. On the sidelines, Tim Brandt is with Mark Gastineau, the Super Bowl MVP of a year ago.
Had a couple of sacks in that MVP game a year ago out here in the Pro Bowl. How difficult is that, though, Mark, in these very basic defenses?
Well, it's kind of hard after not playing for a while. Since we went to the playoffs, but we only lasted for a little while. You lose your timing and stuff, and it's hard to get the timing and everything back. But I'd like to ask Frank one question up there in the booth. You know, I know it's about 69, maybe 65 degrees up there. How does it feel, Frank, to be sitting up there watching us work down here and sweat?
Frank, I go along with that. You know, I'm down here, too, and it is some kind of hot on this field.
If you're going to watch him, Tim, you may as well watch the best, and tell him that. We watch the best when we watch him.
You watch up there in the booth, and he'll watch us down here, and they are in comfort up there. Let me ask you, for an all-star game, do you gear down at all, or do you keep that same intensity that you have during the regular season?
I think that everybody that is out here on this field are all pros, and they have competitiveness built right into their systems, and there's not one player out here that doesn't want to win or would not like to play as well as he can on national TV. So everybody out here on this field is trying and giving it 110%. And I'd also like to say hi to Brittany, my little girl, because she couldn't make it today, and she's 3 years old, and she's sitting home watching her dad work and suffer out here in this heat in Hawaii.
But he'll be on the beach this afternoon, Frank. I'll guarantee that.
You saw Largent short of the first down, and what Gastineau said about the competitive nature of these players manifesting itself, particularly when this game comes down and it gets to be close. Now, a lot of them, OJ, have brought friends, they brought wives, they brought girlfriends, and there's only a $5,000 difference. And today's standards, that may not seem like much, but they have pretty much used up everything they are going to make here today already. Third down and 3, Marcus Allen, and just struggles over the top of players. Principally Jim Collins, who got an AFC first down up near the 44-yard line.
Well, Marcus, he must feel pretty good getting that first down because 2 plays previous to that, while Gastineau was talking, the AFC had one of the best set-up screenplays I've ever seen in an all-star game, and Marcus just dropped the ball.
3 receivers we've seen so far, sure-handed receivers. Craig, Christensen, and Marcus drop passes in this game. It can happen to the best of them.
First and 10 now for Dan Fouts. Looking over the defense. Nothing strange about it. Then he drops back. Under pressure once again, and he dumps it off to Marcus Allen, and Allen will get a couple of yards out of it. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Saturday, a reminder, ABC Sports will present the U.S. Figure Skating Championships featuring the ladies competition. It'll be live except on the West Coast. Tiffany Chen is scheduled to defend her national title in the ladies event, and you'll also see the beautiful ice dance competition. ABC's Wide World of Sports beginning at 4:30 Eastern Pacific, 3:30 Central, Saturday right here on ABC.
You know, I think one of the reasons we don't see some of the penalties we see during the regular season, in the regular season, these players have a certain meanness going into a game. I don't think they're playing this game particularly with any kind of vendettas against one another. You know, they're just out there playing good, hard, clean football.
At the 48-yard line, the AFC, 2nd down and 3. Marcus Allen, a former high school quarterback, lofts one up deep. Oh, that's Wes Chandler.
All right.
He comes down with it. Marcus Allen has got to be chuckling to himself. He put that up almost to the top of the stadium. Durison was with Wes Chandler, who kept his concentration, his eyes on the football of the AFC, get the ball into the end zone.
Well, Wes never did have to break his stride, even though he appeared to have to make an adjustment to the ball.
Marcus Allen was a high school quarterback back at San Diego, but this one, I hope he didn't throw them all like this, O.J. He really put some loft on this beauty. 51 yards.
Well, as we said, a great catch. That was just a super effort by Wes Chandler because he made a nice adjustment to the ball, and he didn't have to break his stride. And with a receiver like Chandler, you just want to get the ball out there, and they'll run under it.
Durison was in position, but he couldn't find the football.
Barry Anderson for the conversion. The AFC goes back out on top. 51-yard touchdown pass. Marcus Allen to Wes Chandler. There he is. He's coming off a great season. Flanked by Joe Morris of the Giants. Ron Brown, we've already talked about his 3 touchdowns. He had 2 of them in one game this past season against Green Bay of 98 and 86. He can flat fly. But this will be the Giants' Joe Morris. And Morris gets out of the 15-yard line, tripped up there and sprawls out to the 13-yard line where it'll be first down. Let's take another look at this spectacular catch by Chandler. Durison just got himself all tied up, overran it. Chandler bobbled the ball, somehow kept his eyes on it, comes down with it in the end zone. It could have been a very dangerous position that Durison got himself in. That knee buckled underneath him. AFC leading the NFC 14-7 midway through the second quarter. The quarterback is Jim McMahon of the Chicago Bears, the NFC's second-ranked quarterback this past season, and of course the Super Bowl winning quarterback, and he is promptly sacked by Howie Long of the Raiders. And when we talk of dominant linemen, as we have a Richard Dent, when you speak of dominant linemen, you speak of Howie Long, and he just clouded up and rained all over Jim McMahon, who did not even have a chance.
Well, you saw Howie do something early in the game when Rulon Jones got his sack. The quarterback was running from Howie Long, and many of those Raiders are in double figures in sacks. Sean Jones and some of the guys, Piquel, because of Howie Long. QB's running from Howie.
Loss of 8, 2nd down and 18. The ball is back at the 11-yard line. McMahon gets the pressure. The play before comes back with the screen, dumps it off to Gerald Riggs, and Riggs is out to the 17-yard line, where it will be 3rd down and about 10. On the sideline, Tim Brandt with a friend of mine, a skiing buddy, if you will, Doak Walker.
And an outstanding halfback, as you know, Frank, SMU, Detroit Lions. Congratulations on being elected into the Hall of Fame, Doak.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's quite a spectacle, I'll guarantee you.
As you sit here and watch the Pro Bowl over here in Aloha Stadium, the game has changed. It seems that these guys get bigger all the time, don't they?
There are a lot more of them anyway, Tim. I'll tell you, we had a pretty good big ball club, but not as many.
And as you look at the college game, SMU, of course, you attended SMU. The college game has changed. They get bigger, they get faster, and of course they also have their problems.
Oh, they sure do. They all have their problems, more so now than ever before, but I guess that's progress.
All right, Doak. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it very much.
All right, Frank.
Doesn't seem that long ago that Doak Walker twice led the NFL in scoring. Only played 6 seasons, but he was the long and the short of Bobby Lane's receivers. That included Cloyce Box on one side and Doak Walker on the other side, and they dominated the NFL in the early 50s. First penalty thus far of the game, and you saw the movement of Klecko and Mark Gastineau. They were both offside, and they moved the ball out to the 22-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and a long 6 for the NFC. Don Shula looking on. McMahon is back, steps back into the pocket. This will be picked off by Louis Wright. The Broncos, Louis Wright picks off the pass of Jim McMahon, brings it back inside the 20. So the AFC leading 14-7. Watches the NFC come up with the football inside their 20-yard line.
Well, I'm sure Jim would like to have this one back. It looked like Louis Wright was the only open receiver out there. I kind of think Jim was expecting Mike Quick to come back to the ball a little more. Then again, with one short week to prepare, you're going to have these kind of mistakes. There he is, Louis Wright.
And Jim McMahon had gone through the entire playoffs without an interception. He comes to the Pro Bowl and promptly puts one in the arms of Louis Wright, the Denver Bronco. AFC, 1st and 10. Here the 19-yard line, hands the ball off to Kevin Mack, and the rookie from Cleveland is hit right at the line of scrimmage and then squeezes a yard out of it. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
And what a rookie he was for Cleveland this year. Broke Jim Brown's rookie record. Of course, he played a year in the USFL, and one of the few runners who gained 1,000 yards this year and ran over and averaged over 5 yards a carry. The other guy being Stump Mitchell from St. Louis.
They have marked it now inside the 17-yard line. So it'll be 2nd down and 8. Louis Lips of the Steelers split to the right. To the left is Steve Largent. And Ken O'Brien, under pressure, throws the ball in the direction of Largent, incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 8. Watching all these Bears perform, and they are dominant here today in personnel. They have 9 players. I know that Virginia and chairman of the board of the Bears, Ed McCoskey, Virginia, of course, Papa Bear's daughter, are looking on. They are celebrating their 43rd anniversary, and you know, today, had he still been with us, Papa Bear would be celebrating his 91st birthday. Somewhere you get the feeling he was looking down and enjoying things a week ago. 3rd down and 8. O'Brien throws it into a crowd. A flag comes down. It's incomplete. Lawrence Taylor was back there with Joey Browner. They were defending against Todd Christensen, but a flag is down.
Now that pass should have been intercepted that time by either Browner or Lawrence.
And it's beginning to get a little testy. Anthony Munoz and Richard Dent had a few words with one another.
Holding number 71, offense, penalty is declined, 4th down.
That was Chris Hinton holding. And we'll see the field goal unit come on for the AFC. They have a 14-7 lead, and they trot out Gary Anderson for a 34-yard attempt. Center is Mike Webster of the Steelers, and Roan Stark will be the holder. 5:20 remaining here in the half. The AFC looking to extend their lead. Anderson, who was 33 of 42 this past season, just a superb year, drills it through from 34 yards out, and the AFC leads the NFC 17-7.
The 25th anniversary celebration continues.
And upended at the 19-yard line, sprawls out close to the 20, where it'll be 1st down AFC. And hustling down there, Lance Mel of the Jets, playing in his first Pro Bowl. First one he has been with devoted to, and it is a vote of coaches and players that get you here. And of course, over the years, Lance Snell has been just spectacular with the Jets.
I was talking with Lance yesterday, and that Jet football team, well, they're pretty proud of themselves. You know, they won 11 football games and made the playoffs with a new defensive scheme. Bud Carson, the coach that went to the Jets as defensive coordinator last year, put a new defense in. The team still doesn't have it worked out, yet they made the playoffs with 11 victories. That's quite an accomplishment.
Ball is loose. It was a draw play to Riggs. And Riggs hustles up and covers it. Makes the recovery himself. There'll be a loss of about a yard, so it'll be second down and 11.
Well, that's one of those new rules they have. Well, the quarterback, he'll get credit for those type of fumbles. You got to get the ball to the running back, and once again, these guys have not worked together. And surprisingly, it will surprise you how differently a back will take a handoff. Some guys are low, some guys are high, and quarterback really has to concentrate in getting the ball to them.
Have to look it right in. You burn your eyes right into that pocket and hand it there.
Second and 11. Whoa! The attempt was to Art Monk. It was almost picked off by Dennis Smith of the Broncos. He had his eye on it all the way. Smith had a big year with the Broncos, playing in his first Pro Bowl.
While he was at USC, he lined up at the two safety spots. It was Ronnie Lott and Dennis Smith. Pretty good pair of safeties.
Ronnie Lott, of course, missing the Pro Bowl for the first time in many years, as is Lester Hayes for the AFC.
Boy, you think of some of the guys, Eric Dickerson and James Wilder, some great football players who are not here.
You got to think, what do I have to do to get here? Third down and 11. McMahon, Mr. Personality of the Chicago Bears, will move from the shotgun. And Gastineau is there, strips the ball. Gastineau, I don't know whether he can sack dance around here or not. If the same rules apply, there would be a penalty assessed, but Mark is charging up the crowd.
Well, interestingly enough, Jackie Slater was not on the field on that play. It was Jackie Slater who went after Gastineau for dancing on the field after he beat him for a sack. And I think more than anything, it was because of that incident that they had the rule of no celebrating after sacks.
AFC gets the football back inside the 11-yard line. O'Brien, he's under pressure, slides away from it. Has a lot of time now. He puts one up for grabs in the end zone, and the AFC comes down with it.
Louis
Lipps of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was one of those you almost had to call a fair catch for it.
Well, that's two jump balls that the AFC rebounds, I should say, that they got for touchdowns.
That's right, but I'm concerned right now with Kenny O'Brien's right hand. He fell on it. He's carrying it. Well, he's very concerned with it right now. We'll find out what went wrong with it or what is wrong with it.
Gary Anderson again for the conversion. McMahon interception and McMahon fumble, and the AFC are beginning to outdistance the NFC. High snap by Mike Webster. Stark gets it down. So Rulon Jones, who made the recovery, sets up the AFC touchdown pass. And a strange one indeed it was, coming from Ken O'Brien. Here it is again. Way up in the air, Louis Lipps, a lot of concentration, stayed with it. Comes down. Gary Green of the Rams was nearby, but he couldn't get it away. And let's take a look at Lipps in isolation.
Really a well-designed play. It works out just the way we draw it up on the blackboard.
Yeah.
Green is all over Louis Lipps. Tried to take his wardrobe off there. Up they go. And Lipps comes down with it. And the AFC extends their lead to 24-7. Ball just deflected off the helmet of his own man.
Brian Holloway is a rather tall man at 6'7".
Brian is 6'7". There it is right there. I didn't see that in the initial play. Brian Holloway tried to take his wardrobe off there. Up they go. And Lipps comes down with it. And the AFC extends their lead to 24-7. Ball just deflected off the helmet of his own man.
Brian Holloway is a rather tall man at 6'7".
Brian is 6'7". There it is right there. I didn't see that in the initial play. Brian Holloway, the offensive lineman, a 6'7", had it bounce right off his helmet. Ron Brown of the Rams will bring it out. To about the 23-yard line, tripped up there by Mecklenburg of the Broncos. So many of these players playing on these special teams in unusual positions and spots for them.
Well, they say defense comes more naturally than playing offense, so I gather they're doing a good job of covering these kicks. The receiving teams, they're just not doing a good job of blocking for their runners.
3:50 now remaining in the first half of the 16th NFC-AFC Pro Bowl. AFC on top 24-7. The NFC has the football near their own 23-yard line. And McMahon hands off to Riggs, and the whistles blow. 30-second clock might have expired on McMahon before he got the playoff. The referee is Bob McElwee. Could have been movement. The 30-second clock had ticked dangerously low. Well, it can be whatever you prefer.
Keeping it a secret.
In any event, it's first down and 15. The NFC at their 19-yard line. Bill Morris, nothing doing on the left side, tried to break it back to the right. He'll lose about 3 yards, so it'll be second down and 17. We're going to go with Tim Brandt. He's on the sidelines with a great one. Willie Lanier, formerly of Kansas City.
Frank, one of the best linebackers I ever saw. Willie, 16 years since you played in that Super Bowl win over the Vikings. Seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it does. It's been a long time. I was telling you earlier, I was talking to Otis Wilson on the bench and showed him my ring, and since they'll be getting one in 5 months. But I mentioned to him he was very young when I got this one.
He was young. I grew up watching you. I don't want to make you feel bad. Let me ask you something. If you were still playing with the rules the way they are now, with no chugging or bump and run like it used to be, would you enjoy that or not?
No, that really wouldn't be a lot of fun. I think seeing wide receivers, tight ends, being able to run across the field after the 5-yard situation just takes a lot away from the defensive skill and ability to be able to physically alter their routes. So I think that obviously it would be a little bit frustrating, to play with those kind of rules.
All right, congratulations to you on being elected into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Frank, a guy really knew the difference between come here and sick 'em.
Indeed he did. Reminds so many of us, O.J. and I were commenting on it earlier, that Willie Lanier reminded us, if anyone can, of Mike Singletary of the Chicago Bears, who played with that kind of intensity and was that dominant for the Kansas City Chiefs. Third down and 11. You saw McMahon scrambling a moment ago. Hook sliding up close to the original line of scrimmage, but the pass attempt to Lofton is incomplete. And I'll tell you, if you're going to be Mr. Personality and charm all the fans and the nation in New Orleans, as McMahon did with all his antics over the past week, you're going to hear the smattering of the boos. He's given up an interception, had a fumble, and now he cannot get them out of their own territory, and he hears from them.
Getting back to Willie Lanier, we're talking about Singletary. While he was at Baylor, he broke 16 of his own helmets, and in his 5 years with Chicago, he's broke 3 or 4 helmets, just as he uses that helmet when he tackles. He's one of the few guys that do that. You remember Willie Lanier used to wear that pad down the middle of his helmet? He used his helmet in tackling also.
Hatcher of the Rams bangs it. Pryor with the Patriots at the 31-yard line, and down he goes, and hustling down to make the stop is Browner, the special teams player for the NFC. We've already seen Browner score on a 51-yard touchdown interception. He's looking dangerously like MVP material.
Talking about the fellas using their helmets, that is one of the rules that we've changed in the last few years. It's called spearing, I guess, and many of the ball players all of the ball players are not allowed to use that helmet today as we did yesteryear. I like the way Willie put it, too, altering the pass routes of the receivers, physically altering them.
Not to mention their facial contours.
Yes.
On first and 10. Fouts is back. Richard Dent is there. Fouts was able to get it away to avoid the sack.
Well, Craig James, it was supposed to be a screen to Craig, and he just couldn't get out of the backfield. I believe one of the defensive linemen did the smart thing and held him up.
Well, you know, getting back to the tackling with your helmet, the way you really tackle is that you square up on a guy. You try to put your face mask in a guy's chest, and I guess that's what we're talking about when we say Mike Singletary will tackle a guy with his helmet. He'll square up on him and put that face mask right into the chest of the ball carrier.
Got to look that lick in. Second down and 10. This will be the last play before we get the 2-minute warning here in the first half. Marcus Allen tries a little trap block inside. Gets up to the 35-yard line, a gain of a couple. It'll be 3rd down and 8. Howie Long, like all the players in this Pro Bowl, they've been having a great week here in Hawaii.
Say hello. Say hello to the East Coast.
Say hi to all your relatives.
Hi, Mom.
AFC with a 24-7 lead, and they have a 3rd down and 8 near their own 35-yard line. Quarterback is Dan Fouts. Ken O'Brien went off a few moments ago holding his right hand, and Fouts has returned as the quarterback for the past 2 series. Flag is down on 3rd and 8. Fouts has the open man downfield, and it's his teammate Wes Chandler, but we'll have holding, and it will work against the AFC, and a first down effort between Fouts and Chandler is negated. Well, it was illegal motion, not holding. So the AFC will be backed up 5. Referee once again is Bob McElwee. And now the AFC will be confronted with a 3rd down and about 13.
And if for you people at home that really don't understand that rule, a football player has to be set a full second in his stance, or else it's illegal motion. Other than lateral motion, he can run lateral motion anytime.
Well, we were remarking earlier in the game how well these teams had come together and trained in just a matter of 5 days. Marcus Allen. Near the 38-yard line, far short of the first down, as E.J. Jr. made the stop. E.J. Jr. was involved in an incident here in Hawaii yesterday where there was a hit-and-run driver that hit a little girl, and as he was trying to leave the scene, E.J. Jr., along with other Hawaiians, maintained and detained the alleged hit-and-run driver until the police came, and E.J. Jr. kept a lot of very angry people from attacking the man. What a tribute to E.J. Jr. They're looking at one of the AFC players. It's number 63. That's Munchak of Houston. Let's join Tim Brown on the sidelines now. He's with the Giants. Joe Morris, Mr. Big in every way.
He is that, Frank, and he's waiting to go back into the ball game here to get the offense going, trying to get the NFC on the board. Joe, it looks like they are causing some problems. What is it, the slants? What are they doing to you?
Well, their nose guards are reading our plays pretty well, and they're slanting that way. With the Rams going up the field the way they are, they're cutting my cutback lanes down. And what we're going to have to do is have to stick the ball in there with the nose guard. We're just going to have to block the nose man and hope for a little crease in there. Because with Howie and, and Mark going so far up the field, there should be a little hole inside there, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Hey, congratulations. Giants are awfully close to taking it, aren't they?
Yeah, we're close, but, hey, there's a lot of things we got to do for next year. We're going to be a better team than we were last year. We lost to the Chicago Bears, Super Bowl champions, so there's no shame in that. But, hey, you want to go further every year, Tim.
All right, congratulations to you. Get ready. You're ready to go back on the field.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Frank.
Mike Munchak is being taken off the field, the outstanding offensive guard from Houston Oilers. And this you hate to see in any game, and particularly in an all-star game. We'll try to get a definitive report on his condition. Ron Stark of Indianapolis, the punter now for the AFC. Leroy Irvin doesn't do this anymore for the Rams because they have Henry Ellard, who led the NFC last year, but he used to. And in 1981, Leroy Irvin, who is now the starting cornerback for the Rams, in 1981, he returned 3 punts for touchdowns, so he's dangerous back there. Irvin out to the 28-yard line, hit there by Kevin Mack of the Browns. Remind you, coming up at halftime, very interesting halftime, we're going to be looking at a report from all the principals and stories that have been breaking concerning the New England Patriots and their drug problems. The Wide World of Sports will present their Athlete of the Year, Pete Rose. And, of course, the spectacular festivities here, as always, at Aloha Stadium. So stick around. Be with us. We hope for you people who are back in the States suffering through the pangs of winter that you're enjoying our coverage of the Pro Bowl. Temperature in the low 80s. The AFC leading the NFC 24-7. McMahon remains the quarterback on 1st and 10, looking to get the screen off. And Willon Jones of Denver prevented that completion out to Roger Craig. It'll be 2nd down and 10. And by the way, Walter Payton, and we talked about it throughout the entire first half, came down with the flu last night. He has left the field, and we do not anticipate he will be back. And O.J., I know you feel very bad about Payton and his flu, but he only picked up 14 yards, so it looks like that record of yours is safe
for
at least another year and by 13 yards.
Well, the way Walter is going, he'll be back here next year. He's 31. He had one of the finest seasons any back has ever had this year, but I can break out. I still got the record T-shirt. I'll be on the beach this afternoon.
Payton is 31 going on 24. McMahon on 2nd and 10. Rifles one out. It's incomplete, and he'll hear from this crowd. They're really on his case. I don't think they mean anything by it, but when you dance all night, you sometimes have to pay the fiddler in the morning.
Well, again, the timing isn't right between quarterbacks and receivers in this game, and let's give Jim McMahon some credit, too. Uh-oh, we have somebody down.
That's number 61. That's Fred Quillen of the 49ers, and Quillen, they are looking at his left knee.
And speaking of injuries, for you concerned New York Jet fans, what did we get, Frank? Word that there's ice on Kenny O'Brien's elbow. It's not his hand, but he has ice on his elbow.
So Fred Pullen is being looked at by the medical staff here at the Pro Bowl. We kid about McMahon, but on a Thursday night, I think it was, against Minnesota, when we were told he was the disaster quarterback, would not play, we found out what a disaster quarterback in Chicago Bears terminology meant, and that meant an 8-point deficit. He came off the bench in the 3rd quarter, fired 3 touchdown passes. They won that game going away. The first 2 completions were touchdown passes. And a remarkable young man. He has this entire Bear team behind him totally. And he really put on quite a show, not only in the Super Bowl, but during Super Bowl week.
A great competitor and a great athlete. He does things back there that a lot of quarterbacks can't do. He buys time with his running ability, takes the ball upfield and gains yardage, and he's an excellent passer. Going back to his BYU days, he still has collegiate records for his passing.
They continue to work on Fred Quillen. Now they assist Fred Quillen to his feet.
Well, Quillen, he's had some leg problems this year. He missed a few games for the 49ers, and they moved Randy Cross to center. Randy Cross got hurt late in the season, and I think Quillen may have come back before he was completely healed. I don't think he was the healthiest ball player to come over here to Hawaii this year.
And again, we will try to get an injury report from the bench as quickly as possible. We realize that friends and family are watching this football game. We want to keep you as well informed as possible. 1:13 remaining in the first half. The AFC leading the NFC 24-7. Fred Quillen, the only 49er offensive lineman here in the game today. I mentioned earlier that Jim McMahon is here in the Pro Bowl because quarterback Joe Montana, who was selected, was unable to come because of injuries. McMahon from the shotgun looking over 3rd down and 10. The ball at his own 28-yard line. They come at the draw play to Roger Craig. Craig to the 31-yard line, far short of 1st down yardage as Mike Merriweather made the stop, and the punting unit will come on for the NFC.
I don't know who called that play, but I'll bet you it wasn't McMahon. 3rd and 10. Yeah, vintage Robinson.
Well, you've always been somewhat critical of John Robinson's.
That's a gamble by John Robinson. That's his gambling play.
Well, the NFC's offense has been somewhat predictable today.
Notice that the NFC is using the shotgun formation, and talking with the AFC coaches, they decided before they got here that they wouldn't use the shotgun. They didn't want to do something Dan Fouts hasn't been doing, so they stick with the conventional under the center.
And Joe, the AFC has called timeout because they want to get that football back, and they should get it back in relatively good field position. Dale Hatcher is on. Irving Fryer, a deadly return man from New England, is back there. Led the league in punt returns with over a 14-yard average, a couple of touchdowns, had an 85-yarder against Buffalo, so they want to give Fryer an opportunity to get them in a good field position and put some more points on the board.
And they know the NFC could come back. We were down by 14 points at halftime, one All-Star game, and won it. In another game, we were up 20-6, and the NFC came back and beat us.
Well, that's a clutch punt by Dale Hatcher of the Rams. He put that up, a towering punt, and carried all the way down to the 20-yard line. 48-yard punt by Hatcher. And usually when you kick one that far, they're going to bring it back because it won't have that kind of altitude. Fine kick.
Those are the kind of punts that cover team on the punt team really love to see.
We are told that Munchak and Quinlan both have left knee injuries. They are not severe injuries, and we have also been told that there is a possibility they might return. Certainly didn't look that way, but that's what we've been told. First down at 10, the AFC. They have 57 seconds to work with. They have 2 timeouts, and Dan Fouts is a master at using them. As is Steve Largent, who gets the first down for the AFC up at the 42-yard line in front of Carlton Williamson.
A beautifully thrown pass. I'll tell you, not many quarterbacks have the touch that Dan Fouts has, if any, actually, and he dropped that ball just over Williamson's head to open Steve Largent. Nicely thrown pass.
Near the 42-yard line is the first down. Largent able, of course, to stop the clock by getting out of bounds. Fun crowd here. They're looking forward to the festivities at halftime. But they are also very appreciative of the play of these Pro Bowlers. Couldn't find anything downfield, so he dumps it off to Greg James. And James of the New England Patriots gets about 6 yards up close to the 48-yard line, and Fouts has called a couple of plays in the huddle to conserve time. We're down to 30 seconds here in the first half. Second down and 3. Fouts was in the arms of Dan Hampton of the Chicago Bears, and I think they're going to mark it back at the 41-yard line. He was in the arms, in possession of Dan Hampton, and that's where they'll mark the football. So it goes as the sack back near the original line of scrimmage. Dan Hampton, another one of those Bears who had a great year defensively. As we look at Quinlan being taken from the field, he moved from the right defensive tackle spot, did Dan Hampton this year, over to the left defensive end and had a sensational season. There he is.
One of the few All-Stars who's made this game playing different positions. Of course, you have some guys like Glecko, who has made the All-Star team playing 3 different positions, defensive end, defensive tackle, and this year at nose tackle.
That's pretty remarkable, huh?
That is.
AFC has used another timeout. They have 1 remaining, and we can remind you that Saturday ABC Sports will present the U.S. Figure Skating Championships featuring the ladies competition, and it'll be live, except on the West Coast. Tiffany Chen is scheduled to defend her national title in the ladies event, and you'll also see the graceful, beautiful ice dance competition. ABC's Wide World of Sports beginning at 4:30 Eastern and Pacific, 3:30 Central, coming up this Saturday. About you guys, but I'll be on my way to Czechoslovakia to cover a ski event over there that hopefully we'll be able to bring you next Sunday.
Well, I'm going to hang around here for 2 weeks, Frank, and try to work on my golf game. I went out with Joe yesterday.
You better work on that golf game.
2 weeks won't do it. 3rd and 9. Fouts fires down to teammate Wes Chandler, who couldn't hold on. He was really hit on the sidelines. Carlton Williamson coming up to make sure that Chandler did not come up down with that first down.
I'm convinced you don't have to be an athlete to play golf, because looking at Joe's legs, I figure he couldn't do anything, and this guy is just about a scratch golfer.
Yeah, 9 handicap. You know, if you got your buddy Arnold Palmer to give you some tips, you'd be a darn good golfer, too. So.
Palmer said forget it. Leroy Irvin drops. And the Colts. Ron Stark will punt away. In 4 years, Stark has not averaged under 44 yards. This one will almost go out of the stadium. Stark really nails one. Carries, of course, into the end zone. It'll be a touchback, and the NFC will have the football back at the 20-yard line with 7 seconds remaining on the halftime clock. And the NFC trailing 24-7. Very opportunistic AFC defensive unit. They've turned an interception and a fumble by McMahon into points. And again, with the tight type of players we have on this field, they could come back at any moment.
Well, you can bet they're upset about this. As Richard Dent said earlier in this game, they've got a lot of pride's at stake, and the NFC right now is mighty angry.
I'll bet you one thing. You'll see a guy like McMahon will go to his receivers, and they may make up some of their own plays for the second half.
That's right.
Because what they've been running just have not worked. The only touchdown coming from a Joey Browner interception for the NFC.
On the drive, the NFC was able to put together as we watched Joe Morris pick off the final seconds of the first half was early in the game, and it was directed by Phil Simms. 24-7 at halftime. The AFC over the NFC.
Presentation. The NFL Man of the Year award honors NFL players who make significant contributions to charitable causes. Sponsored by Light Beer from Miller, the Man of the Year program annually awards $52,000 in scholarship money in the name of NFL players from each team. The 1985 NFL Man of the Year is center Dwight Stevenson of the Miami Dolphins. Dwight is being honored for his efforts. Borton Baby House, a South Florida social agency that cares for children with cerebral palsy. Stevenson also recently received the Silver Medal for Valor for the Dade County Police Department for his role in apprehending suspected burglars. Presenting the Man of the Year trophy to Dwight Stevenson, our NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle and Robert Toledo, Senior Executive of the Miller Brewing Company. Congratulations to Dwight Stevenson, the 1985 NFL Man of the Year.
The preceding message was paid for by the Miller Brewing Company. Players from both teams have come out onto the field, and we'll be getting the second half underway very shortly. The AFC over the NFC at halftime, 24-7, and this ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Miller Beer. Miller, made the American way since 1855. By GTE Sprint. When you call Sprint, you've got the future on the line. By the full line of 1986 Volkswagens. And by Owens Corning, our building products put your house in the pink. Let's take a look at the halftime statistics. As you can see, it was dominated by the AFC, 209 total yards. Turnovers also helping the AFC. A McMahon interception, a McMahon fumble leading to points for the AFC. And Phil Simms really was the only quarterback able to generate any kind of lengthy drive for the NFC. I mentioned earlier that the two quarterbacks that were selected, Dan Marino from the Miami Dolphins for the AFC, unable to participate because of arthroscopic surgery on his knee. And Joe Montana, the San Francisco 49ers, also not able to participate. Jim McMahon replaced Montana, while Ken O'Brien of the Jets replaced Dan Marino. Set to go. Both teams bring out their special teams, and the NFC will be kicking off. Irving Fryer, the speedster from New England, drops back for the New England Patriots. Louis Lips of the Steelers is flanked on Fryer's right, while Deron Cherry of Kansas City is also back for the AFC Pro Bowlers. Morton Anderson to kick off. Low kick. That is taken by Deron Cherry of Kansas City. And Cherry out over the 20, close to the 23-yard line, where the AFC will trot out their offensive unit. Otis Wilson of the Bears down there to make the stop for the NFC. Looking for the AFC quarterback that will open the second half, and it will be Ken O'Brien of the Jets. O'Brien went out early in the first half, if you were with it. He had an ice bag on the hand, on the sidelines, or rather on the elbow, and he does appear to be all right.
Good news for the Jet fans.
Kevin Mack and Freeman McNeil are the setbacks. That is Freeman McNeil, O'Brien's teammate. He's out over the 25 to the 26, a gain of 3 yards. It'll be second down and 7. He's hit there by Otis Wilson. Kevin Mack, the other setback, the rookie from Cleveland, one of 2 Brown this year. Went over 1,000 yards rushing. Ernest Biner being the other. They had a really fine running game.
Marty Schottenheimer's done a fine job over there at Cleveland. They made the playoffs, and Bernie Kosar developed nicely for a rookie this year. I think Cleveland's going to be a good football team. Well, they're already a good team, but they're going to be around for several years to come. threatening the playoffs, threatening these other teams in the playoffs.
Ozar was not altogether too happy towards the end of the season. However, following that loss to Miami in the playoffs, a little critical of the offensive philosophy. He would like to throw the ball much more for Cleveland as we watch Freeman McNeil work the left side. Ken Mack, by the way, has limped off the field for the AFCs.
The AFC showed a little versatility on offense. They went to a single back, picked up some good yardage from it. Got a good block from Todd Christensen. McNeil did.
You know, one of the reasons they do stress the running game in a place like Cleveland, too, Frank, is that bad weather up there. You just simply can't pass the football as much as you'd like to.
And they play on that natural surface, so it can get pretty sticky and muddy. This is Freeman McNeil again on 3rd down and 3, and he has the first down yardage out at the 35-yard line. It'll be first down AFC, and we're going to pause 5 seconds and allow our stations to identify themselves.
Channel 10, WPLG, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
The 16th annual AFC-NFC Pro Bowl game from Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. Frank Gifford along with Joe Namath and O.J. Simpson. The AFC Pro Bowlers leading the NFC 24-7. A couple of turnovers in the second quarter provided major points for the AFC. And the AFC has a 1st and 10 at their own 35-yard line. The quarterback is Ken O'Brien of the Jets, and he fires out and misses. Louis Lipps on the out pattern. Their covering was Everson Walls.
You know, that was a poor job of blocking on behalf of the AFC. Otis Wilson, the fine linebacker from the Bears, really came clean from the outside. And again, the reason these teams limit the outside blitzing is because you should be able to pick up that type of a blitz. Geez, he came clean, not a man laid a hand on him.
A quick look at Ozzie Newsome of the Cleveland Browns on the sidelines. Had another great season. 62 receptions this past year. O'Brien back, gets the time, fires out, and he gets it complete. That was Mark Clayton who hustled across the field to get first down yardage right up at midfield. We'll take a look at Clayton from our ground level camera. O'Brien this time had time to get it to him, Joe.
And he's a very accurate passer, too. He's one of 2 quarterbacks in the entire NFL that completed more than 60% of their passes. The other, of course, is Joe Montana, the 49ers. He's accurate, very selective where he throws the football, and that's why he had a minimal amount of interceptions this past season.
First down, AFC right at midfield, and O'Brien is back once again. O'Brien with a fine touch trying to get the ball to Ozzie Newsome, and Ozzie Newsome comes down with the football, but he's out of bounds. There's Todd Christensen, rather. Todd Christensen trying to keep those feet in bounds, and let's take a look at it from the end zone.
Kenny's not one of your top scramblers in the league, but he does know how to buy time. He moves out of there nicely. Good defensive work by the NFC, and I think old Todd had both feet in bounds that time.
Yeah, that was a great piece of work by Todd Christensen.
It's the first time I saw a guy on the sideline keep his heels in bounds and not his toes in bounds.
We're usually talking toes, aren't we? This time we're talking heels. Second down and 10. Ball gets away from O'Brien and is loose. And this is what the NFC would like to get, and that's the turnover, and they do get it. So the NFC gets a break. They get the football back. The bottom of that pile. There he is, number 54, Randy White. The Dallas Cowboys playing in his 9th Pro Bowl game. Still one of the dominant forces in the National Football League is Randy White, now in his 11th season.
It's one of the difficult things about this game, too, is the quarterback-center exchange. Having only 1 week to work with the center, you're going to have a fumble now and then. During the regular season, you're used to your center. You don't have as many fumbles.
Bill Sims of the Giants is the quarterback for the NFC. Roger Craig looking for yardage. He'll lose back to midfield. It'll be second down at 11. And down on the sidelines, Tim Brandt is with Marcus Allen.
One of the MVPs this year in the National Football League. Marcus scored in the first half, and it is hot down here. How are you holding up?
I'm holding up pretty well. You know, the guys are in pretty good shape, and we're just excited to be here and having a good time. I've been spending most of my time at Burger King waiting for Herb to show up, but he hasn't arrived. I wanted to win some money, but it's not going to happen this trip.
I thought you were Herb. Let me ask you something. In the very basic situation and the way they set this thing up offensively and defensively, does it make it tougher on you as a runner?
No, these guys are professionals. They're bright, intelligent guys, and they can pick up systems really fast, and that's what we've done today.
Great year for the Raiders again. Came up a little bit shy. How close are you? What do you have to do next year to get back to the big one?
Well, I think it was a good year for us, and we're proud of that fact. But as far as our expectations are concerned, it wasn't good enough. 11-4 season or 11-5 season would be great for a lot of people, but we want to win the big one. That's what it's all about. And my hat's off to the Chicago Bears and New England Patriots who beat us. But I just think if we continue on the path that we're doing right now, we'll do okay.
Congratulations, Mark.
All right.
All right, back upstairs, Frank.
And Sims is back once again. He's hit Cosby for the first down for the NFC. Down at the 27-yard line, he comes back to another tight end, Jimmy Giles, and Giles comes down with the football close to another first down near the 17-yard line. So Phil Sims has the NFC moving once again.
Well, as we listen to Marcus try to get some commercial deals going for himself, it was funny listening to Don Shula talk about the backs. He was saying how impressed he was on Freeman McNeil, but how Marcus is hard to tell in practice because he's so cool in practice, but he's always under control.
Giles is about a foot short of the first down. His second down, short yardage. Roger Craig, he spins and twists, and he'll have the first down at the 16-yard line. Roger Craig, again, the first player in NFL history to get 1,000 yards rushing and receiving for the same season. Sparkling year for Roger Craig. NFC trailing here in the third quarter, 24-7. They change the setbacks. Joe Morris is in, number 20 of the Giants. Earl Riggs of Atlanta, number 42. Sends it back, has the time, looks in the corner, and Mike Quick was there. Mike Haynes was covering, but Quick was open for a moment.
Quick runs a nice post corner pattern here. He drives to the inside and cuts out. Nice pattern. He had his man beaten. It just Phil couldn't get the ball to him. Just missed the pass, or he overthrew the pass is what I should say.
Appeared to try to throw it on the line looked to be one of those passes you should throw a little up and over, let the guy run under it.
And that comes again with timing, you know. He may not have been ready to throw then, and that's why he had to put more heat on the ball to get it out there. Maybe Phil was a little late.
It'll be second down and 10. The ball near the 15-yard line. Sims looking for Art Monk. Yes, touchdown, working against Louis Wright. Art Monk, he set an NFL record in receptions a couple of years ago. And had a tremendous season this year with 91 receptions. Makes a tremendous catch working against Louis Wright. A lot of concentration. The ball was loose for a moment. There's Louis Wright, number 20. Keeps his eyes on the football, and he comes down with it in the end zone.
Great individual effort here. This is the kind of play you expect to see now and then from these all-stars. And it's designed this way. They expect Monk to adjust to the football. He does it well. He does it better than most receivers.
Well, when the guy's covered like that, they try to throw the ball to the back of the helmet of the corner who's covered him, and they expect him to adjust to the ball, and that's exactly what he did.
Anderson brings the NFC All-Stars to within 10 points. We'll be back at Honolulu in a moment. And that he is questionable as to whether or not he can come back. And Joe, he told you really that he damaged that knee in the Super Bowl.
Right. I was with Jim yesterday at the golf course, and he told me he's concerned about it. It's bothering him. There's some loose pieces in there, and that he's in fact going to have arthroscopic surgery later on this year to find out what exactly is wrong with it. So it has been bothering him for a while.
Irving Fryers deep. Anderson puts the foot to it. This one will be taken by Deron Cherry of Kansas City. And Cherry out to the 26-yard line, taken there by Joey Browner of the Vikings, the special teams player who is here today and performing well.
Looking at McMahon on the sideline, it's beyond me how a guy can go on national TV with that junk in their mouth.
You know, I happen to agree with that. It's a bad habit. Hopefully he'll break it, and the rest of these people that chew tobacco get over that habit.
Well, he gets rid of it little by little. Mike Munchak, offensive lineman, has also had a sore knee, will not be back. Fred Pulling, the 49ers, will not be back. He has a sore left knee as we look at the attempt of Steve Largent. Dan Fouts, the quarterback, and Steve Nelson of the Patriots for the AFC has a sore ankle, and he may be back. Fred Young, the special teams player from the Seahawks, has a pulled groin injury, and we understand he will not be back. So the game has taken its toll. 10:04 remaining in the third quarter. The AFC over the NFC 24-14.
You know, O.J., you mentioned that chewing tobacco. I was a villain. Now, I broke that rule. I chewed tobacco 17 years, and I quit my last year when I was with the Rams, and it was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do, stop chewing tobacco.
Marcus Allen over the right side, a couple of yards, and that's all. It'll be 3rd down and 8.
We had a coach one year. He chewed tobacco and swallowed some in the middle of the game, and we thought we would. We thought we had a ex-coach on our hands.
Time remaining in the third quarter. Marcus Allen, the NFL's leading rusher, had a tremendous year. Over 2,300 yards from scrimmage. 1,759 of them rushing. 3rd down and 7 for the AFC. And Fouts under pressure. Looking deep. Almost picked off. Wes Hopkins from the Philadelphia Eagles was battling with Irving Fryer of New England. Let's take a look at it again.
The Irving has a good step on Everson here, but the ball's underthrown. Had he had it out in front, it could have been 6 points.
Hopkins, who had 6 interceptions this year for the Eagles, almost came down with that one. That'll be 4th down, and out comes Roan Stark. And Leroy Irvin of the Rams will drop for the NFC, and they ought to get the ball back in good field position.
They should. You know, you mentioned Hopkins. O.J. and I talked to Coach Robinson before the game, and he's the one player that he signaled out that he was really impressed with. He said all of them are good football players, but this Wes Hopkins is really special.
Low kick that doesn't turn over for Stark, and here comes Irvin. There goes Irvin at the 40-yard line. Really pounded. That was Chris Hinton of the Indianapolis Colts who hustled down there and hits Irvin right at the 40-yard line. We'll be back in the annual AFC-NFC Pro Bowl game. We are in the third quarter, and the AFC now has a 10-point lead over the NFC. 9:09 remaining here in the third quarter. Phil Simms stays on at quarterback for the NFC, 1st down and 10 at their own 40-yard line. Simms trying to get it deep, and just does overthrow Tony Hill. Another member of the 1986 Hall of Fame class is Kenny Houston, the great defensive back from the Oilers and the Redskins. He's with Tim Brandt on the sidelines.
Frank, an old friend of mine, former Redskin, and congratulations. We talked about this day a long, long time ago, and it's finally come true. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. We did talk about it in 1980, and I think at the end of the retirement speech, he was saying something that I would probably one day be in the Hall of Fame. And I really didn't think much of it because I thought this place was reserved for other people, really, and it's an honor for me.
One of the few guys, you had your Houston jersey put in the Hall of Fame, of course, before you were there for the number of interceptions returned for touchdowns. More importantly, how's your golf game?
Golf game is really good. I have a lot of time to play it now. You know, I have a little niece in Houston, Stephanie, that we play a lot together. And so it's just a good thing.
Do you know what you're going to be doing now? I know you were coaching and have departed the premises there.
Well, right now I'm a house husband. No, I probably plan to go into the school system, teach school either in junior high or senior high school.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And Frankie wanted to tell us that he shot an 82 at Waialae Country Club.
Morris got 3. It's 3rd down and 7 for the NFC. They're at their own 43-yard line. Phil Simms, strong arms run, tries to get it in there, intended for Lofton, but incomplete. Walter Payton, by the way, will not be returning to the game. We mentioned he came down with the flu last night, tried to go in the first half, and finally had to retire to the locker room, and now we understand he has gone back to his hotel.
Well, watching Kenny Houston, I think Joe and I agree he's just about the best safety that we've ever played against. He and Dick Anderson were pretty close.
Those are the two. That's right. Kenny Houston, Dick Anderson. Two great strong safeties.
I'll never forget the hit he put on Walt Garrison on a Monday Night Football game. I believe it was 1978 to save the game for George Allen and the Redskins right at the goal line. Dale Hatchett has one go off the side of his foot. There's a fair catch called for and executed by Marion. He was the single player that coaches are allowed to select. Don Shula brought him in. We'll be back.
Watching an adventure movie on a VCR? Terrific. But you're only hearing half the fun until you hear Zenith's Hi-Fi Stereo VCR. The stereo sounds so real. It's like being there. You can even tune in and record stereo TV broadcasts. Zenith's VHS Hi-Fi Stereo VCR.
Look out! Quicksand, old boy.
One of the smart VCRs. Zenith, smarter than ever.
In my travels around the world, I found no two countries alike, no two governments alike. There's a lot for governments to disagree on. But 31 governments have found at least one thing they can agree on: the power of Sperry computer systems to make government manageable. Now, if 31 countries can agree on that, who knows what else?
Pair of Converse leather basketball shoes free when you buy 10 rolls or more of any Owens Corning Pink insulation. So insulate now and save on your heating bills.
Journey to a world of adventure. Harem, starting Sunday, February 9th.
Time remaining in the third quarter. The AFC with the football near their own 28-yard line. Sellout crowd, the lowest stadium in Honolulu. Perfect weather for a football game if you're not playing it, because it is a bit warm. Marcus Allen, right side. Puts the head down, Bulls out over the 35-yard line. Gain of 7-8 yards on that play, so it'll be second down and 2. Joey Browner made the stop there for the NFC.
Yeah, thinking about the weather, I would send my best to Walter. I'm sure he's probably listening to us now, but what's amazing is he can play a whole season in that weather in Chicago and then come out here and get the flu.
What a great season it was for Walter Payton. Kind of got lost in the shuffle of the 46th defense, but not for the people who really follow this football game. One of the great ones of all time, of course, as we watch Marcus Allen get the first down for the AFC out over the 40-yard line at the 42. Mike Singletary, another great Chicago Bear, made the stop.
Chicago Bears. You know, I want to congratulate Buddy Ryan right now for taking that head job with the Philadelphia Eagles. As a football fan, I'm looking forward to seeing the Eagles improve for sure, but these Bears will miss him. I believe the Bears will miss Buddy severely.
Don Robinson strolling the sidelines, just concluding his third season in the NFL with the Rams, as Dan Fouts works against the NFC defense and gets the completion to Steve Largent, who's having a fine Pro Bowl. Largent gets the first down at the 45-yard line. Deceptively fast, has absolutely fantastic moves and tremendous hands. 7 receptions, that ties a Pro Bowl record. John Stallworth caught 7 in 1983. Largent has tied that mark. He also gets the first down at the 45-yard line of the NFC, and here comes Marcus Allen. Tries to outrace Joey Browner, but he is nailed. Just close to the 41-yard line.
Marcus threw the ball at Joey Browner. Of course, they were teammates at USC. Pretty close friends.
Gain of 3. It'll be second down and 7. The two coaches, by the way, you saw John Robinson a moment ago, as I mentioned earlier. The two coaches that coach here in the Pro Bowl are the two losing coaches of the conference championship games. Rams, of course, lost to the Bears, and Don Shula's Miami Dolphins lost to New England. Second down and 7. Fouts is back. He had Chandler open, and he missed him. It'll be third down and 7. I remind you, live from Indianapolis, Indiana, next Sunday is the season premiere of ABC Sports Professional Boxing Series featuring the WBA Light Heavyweight Championship. Former two-time champion Marvin Johnson is looking to wear that crown again as he takes on undefeated Leslie Stewart. Action will begin at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central and Pacific next Sunday, live except on the West Coast. Marvin Johnson, WBA's #1 ranked contender, 41-5, 33 KOs against Stewart. The WBA's #2 ranked contender, 18-0, 13 knockouts. Third down and 7. Fouts it back again and under pressure. Looks over the middle and gets the completion. That's Largent, and they'll mark his progress inside the 35-yard line, and that will be a first down. Joey Browner stripped the ball out, but they have blown the whistle and the ball dead. with first down yardage inside the 35.
I agree with Lawrence Taylor on that play. As the official came to mark the ball, Lawrence Taylor took his foot and moved the official's foot back about 2 feet. And I think Lawrence's judgment may be a little better than the officials on this marking.
But the official's judgment is the one that counts.
8 receptions now for Largent, and that's a new Pro Bowl record. Chandler goes right. Largent split out to the left by Dan Fouts, who's worked well not only with his teammate Chandler, but with Steve Largent. Marcus Allen spinning and twisting. Hit at the line of scrimmage, but Allen struggles for about a yard in the arms of Lawrence Taylor and Mike Singletary.
And Richard Dent disrupted that play early on to enable Singletary to make the tackle. That Richard Dent is a great football player. He's a young man, too, huh?
Don Shula pacing the sidelines. Has never lost a Pro Bowl. He has been here on 3 previous occasions. This is his 4th. Amazing. 23 years as a head coach, only 1 losing season. 2nd and 9 for Don Shula's AFC Pro Bowlers, and down goes Fouts. Leonard Marshall, who had 15.5 sacks for the Giants this year, sacks Dan Fouts back at the 42-yard line. That could make quite a difference on a possible field goal attempt. It'll be 3rd down and 16. That's the time remaining in the 3rd quarter. The 3rd wide receiver is now in for the AFC. Joining Wes Chandler and Steve Largent is Irving Fryer. Third down, 16. Here comes the pressure. Fouts hurries a pass, and Chandler, the intended receiver, yes, he did not trap it. Dan Fouts under all kinds of pressure. He was getting it from Richard Dent and Randy White, and he just did that with his arm. And if you've ever doubted the strength of Dan Fouts' arm, he really did not even step into it. He just released it.
Well, he has a strong arm, that's for sure. But what made this play is the fact that Fouts and Chandler work a lot together during the regular season. They're on the same team, and Chandler knew exactly when to come out of that break, you see. The ball's on the way, and Chandler adjusts to it nicely.
Everson Walls hassling Chandler. That ball was on the way really before the break. And the first down is near the 18-yard line of the NFC. Craig James, the single setback now for the AFC. Fouts looking into the corner, and it'll be picked off. Leroy Irvin gets the turnover for the NFC, and they need it with 3:43 remaining here in the 3rd quarter and trailing by 10 points.
Steve Largent must have lost sight of that ball. He made an unusual maneuver at the end of that pass route. I thought it would be a jump ball between he and Irving, and he appeared as if he didn't even see the football coming.
We also had Ozzie Newsom coming into the area. It could have been a busted pattern. I saw Ozzie running a corner pattern. When you have 2 offensive receivers in the same spot, somebody's fouled up.
There were almost all of them there. Also, Mark Clayton in the area. The NFC has it back 1st and 10 at their own 20. The NFC is a 9-6 lead. But at the moment, with 3:43 remaining in the 3rd quarter from Honolulu, the AFC leads the NFC 24-14. And the NFC has the football back following the interception at their own 20-yard line, 1st and 10. Here comes Roger Craig for a 3-yard pickup. And let's go to Tim Brand on the sidelines with one of the great ones, Randy White.
Former teammate of mine, Frank, at the University of Maryland, but hey, is it tough to gear up for these games coming off the season you had?
Well, it's you have a fun week over here, but when game time rolls around, everybody pretty much gets ready to play because your pride's on the line out there, and you're playing for the NFC, and try and go out there and play as tough as you can.
You know, it seemed like for so long it was the Dallas Cowboys, Randy, and the Pittsburgh Steelers year after year going to the Super Bowl. The luster of America's team, I guess, wore off a little bit the last couple of years. Are they back? What does it take to get you guys back to the big one?
Well, we had a good year this year. It didn't end up the way we wanted it to, but we've got a good team. We're going to come back next year fighting them.
How long can you play? It seems like you've been here forever.
Well, I'm going to play as long as my body will let me.
Good luck, Randy.
All right, Tim. Thank you.
All right, Frank.
A moment ago, you saw Phil Simms connect with Roger Craig. Let's look at it again. Simms had a lot of pressure around him, and you see that deceptive speed of Roger Craig. He takes it there, that high stepping style of his down the sidelines, and he gets an NFC first down out at the 42-yard line. He also gets the break as Gerald Riggs, number 42, comes in. And Joe Morris. Here are the setbacks. Little fake reverse there. Morris takes a little bit of a reverse to Art Monk. They must not have worked on that too long. Kept the ball and turned upfield and gets 8 yards out to midfield.
Well, that's the thing that impresses me most about Joe Morris is when he sees it, he doesn't waste any time getting upfield with the football. And on that play, all he would have done is wasted time trying to fake the reverse. He saw he had some room to run, and he got the ball upfield.
Wide receivers now for the NFC. James Lofton, number 83. Mike Quick, number 82. As Riggs and Morris stay on as the setbacks. 2nd down and 2. Sims under pressure. And down he goes. Clay Matthews of the Cleveland Browns, who replaced Chip Banks, who was unable to perform here in the Pro Bowl because of a viral infection, made the sack.
That's interesting. 2 former USC guys. Clay Bean from USC replacing Chip Banks. Incidentally, Joe, you were talking to me about Alabama beating SC on this same field in a bowl game. We have 6 SC guys playing in this game, and I see there's only 4 Alabama players.
Well, we'll give you guys this one then.
And don't forget you have 2 of them in the booth.
Uh-oh, I'm sorry. Roll Tide.
3rd down and 7. NFC just inside their own 45-yard line, and Phil Sims will work from the shotgun. Sims, and in and out of the hands of Jimmy Giles, and he might have been able to take that into the end zone. I don't think he was even the intended receiver. He just happened to be in the area. Let's take a look at it again. Again, we have 2 receivers right in the same area, as we are seeing a little bit of a mix-up with some of the pass plays. You see Art Monk is number 81. He was there, and I think Sims was trying to get it to him, and it went in and out of the hands of Jimmy Giles of Tampa Bay. 4th down, Hatcher is out, Fryer is back for the AFC. Hatcher spanks a beauty. And it does take an NFC bounce all the way back out into the arms of Joey Browner at the 5-yard line, and you really understand why Joey Browner was picked as the special teams Pro Bowler for the NFC. He's been all over the football field. And let's take a look at the form of Dale Hatcher, because he really caught this one. It turned over beautifully on the spiral. He came in nose down and took an NFC bounce to the 5-yard line. So the AFC is backed up. They'll have a 1st and 10 at their own 6-yard line. They continue to lead 24-14, 1:25 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Ken O'Brien remains the quarterback for the AFC. Freeman McNeil, and he is nailed by Ricky Jackson. And with all the great linebackers around pro football, sometimes I think Ricky Jackson of New Orleans often gets overlooked.
Yeah, Frank, I agree with you. There's one thing Ricky Jackson does better than any linebacker that I've seen is when the ball is coming to him, he will penetrate better than anyone. He recognizes plays coming at him, and he is in that backfield.
That's just another indication of what it means to be a winner. If he was on a winning football team, people would be saying it'd be a household word, Ricky Jackson. But down there in New Orleans or on Tampa Bay like Wilder, you know, these guys just don't have the winning teams to get popular with.
O'Brien had to hurry that pass. He was under pressure. Randy White was right in his face. The intended receiver was Louis Lips, but that was a pass that had been underthrown just a little bit. Could have been picked off.
It's also a good indication that his elbow is okay. Yeah. I'm talking about Kenny O'Brien.
Going back to the point that you just made about the cities that you play in, you know, a lot of people think Andre Tippett may be the premier outside linebacker. He has something like 35 sacks in the last 2 years, and if he played in New York City with he and Lawrence Taylor, I think it'd be Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays all over again.
Right. If you could make that trade, you'd be doing something.
Who's the best?
3rd down and 12. 39 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. O'Brien said something to Freeman McNeil. This is McNeil. I think McNeil was asking O'Brien what the snap count was. He gets out to the 10-yard line. But it'll be a 4th down. And Fouts, who holds so many Pro Bowl passing records, had a tough year with San Diego in terms of the physical beating that he took. What a remarkable career. I mentioned the 47 300-yard games. Included in those 47 games were 6 games of 400 yards or more as the final seconds tick off here in the third quarter. The AFC over the NFC after 3, 24-14. We'll be back after this from our stations. Trailing 24-14 as we enter the fourth period. Should get the ball back in good field position. Leroy Irvin of the Rams is deep. Left footing kick thrown Stark. Bangs it. It's a short kick, and here comes Irvin. And Irvin, thinking of the future, steps out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Good field position for the NFC. And they would really like to get one in. They'd like to get the big one, the 6 from this point. And this game would be totally competitive once again. NFC sends out Gerald Riggs, Joe Morris, Phil Simms, who has guided the NFC to the success they have had thus far in the game. McMahon troubled in the appearance that he made. He was 1 of 6, had an interception and a fumble. Phil Simms looks it over. Dumps it off to Riggs, and Gerald cannot hold on. And on the sidelines with Dan Faust, Tim Bryant.
Danny, of course, holds the all-time passing records in this game, and only 1 touchdown, though, in the last couple of games you were over here. But this team has really performed well, the AFC. What is the reason for that? Have you guys great practices or what?
Well, Coach Shula has put in a solid game plan for us, and we did work hard this week. You know, you come over here and you got a lot of distractions, but we practiced very hard, and I think it's showing today in the field.
How difficult is it when you bring all these guys together and you try to put in an offensive system?
Well, I think the main thing is communication and being able to use different terminologies, intermixed terminologies here, and not worry about whether you call the play right, just as long as everybody is on the same page and knows what to do.
And of course, the defense has to stay much more basic than it normally does. I mean, you're not facing the type of blitzes you get, or at least you're not supposed to.
I'll tell you what happened. We come down the first series and didn't get any pass pressure on the quarterback at all. The second series, they come in with a double stunt, and I throw the interception. So they have ways of taking care of our pass block, and I know that.
What's it look like now for the future, the San Diego Chargers?
I think we're headed in the right direction. We had an excellent year last year for a young team in transition, and the feeling on the ball club is very positive.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet, Tim.
All right, Frank.
Bill Simms has hit that Cosby for a first down. They're at the 14-yard line, and the handoff is to Roger Craig, and Craig is down close to the 5-yard line. Simms now 10 of 21, 141 yards and 1 touchdown.
You know, watching Fouts, you know, Mike Ditka, I think, is one of the few great players that become a successful head coach winning the Super Bowl. I think Fouts is going to be a great head coach one day. He really seems to understand the game, and the players seem to really have a lot of respect for him.
He does understand the game, that's for sure. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks in the league.
Second down and 2. NFC threatening. Riggs barreling down to about the 2-yard line. He'll have an NFC first down. And let's take a look at the third quarter stats as Phil Simms continues to move this NFC offense. And the NFC beginning to get a little bit respectable. As Phil Simms has taken the NFC on a couple of drives. And he has them down there well within scoring range. They have a first down, goal to go inside the 3-yard line. 24-14, the AFC over the NFC, but that could change very quickly. Down in this area inside the 5-yard line, under the defensive rules that govern this game, you can bring both outside linebackers. For the NFC, John Robinson has the 2 tight ends in the ball game. And Joe Morris is hammered back. Lance Mill leading the way along with Joe Klecko, a pair of Jets against a giant.
He not only has 2 tight ends in there, Frank, I just noticed, but Russ Grimm was playing tight end on the left side, and he has Jimmy Giles and Cosby in the game as well.
All the big folks in. Second down, goal to go. Morris carried it to the 2-yard line. And now the setbacks in the huddle for the NFC are Joe Morris, number 20, and Roger Craig, number 33. Simms looking to the back of the end zone, and Cosby, who picked up the first down a few moments ago, gets the touchdown for the NFC, and this one draws ever closer. Lance Mill trying to defend against Cosby. And Cosby works so well in that end zone. The big man. A big target in there, Joe, at 6'6".
Big target and a smart receiver, too. He knows how to find the open spots. He's just cutting across the back of the end zone, finds the open spot, and turns up in it.
And he had to make sure both those feet stayed in bounds. He did just that. Mort Anderson for the conversion. And the NFC has pulled within a field goal of the AFC. We'll be back in Honolulu in just a moment. It was 24-7 the AFC at halftime. It is now 24-21. The AFC continuing to lead over the NFC with 11:45 remaining here in the fourth period. Irving Fryar will bring it out for the AFC. Former Nebraska All-American with blazing speed gets out to the 21-yard line, tackled there by Dave Durison. Bill Sims has put a bit of a spark into the NFC here in the second half. He's 10 of 21, 141 yards, and has one touchdown. Actually, I'll correct myself. Sims is 11 of 22, 143 yards, and now 2 touchdowns. Ken O'Brien, the quarterback for the AFC. Freeman McNeil, 24. Craig James, 33. The setbacks. O'Brien gets to Louis Lips on the out, and it was a good out. Louis Lips working against the cornerback Gary Green of the Los Angeles Rams, and he put a good deep move on Gary Green and was able to get close to the first down, and now they give it to him. He's a great young athlete. He scored touchdowns 3 different ways this past season, as he did a year ago as a rookie. That was a good drive he put on Green, one of the fine cornerbacks in this game today. And he scored on pass receptions, punt returns, and rushing. In both years he's been in pro football. That was Craig James, who had a plus 1,000-yard season for New England this year, out to the 37-yard line. He'll get 5 out of that. It'll be second down and 5.
Craig's a former SMU pony, as Doak Walker played his college football back there at SMU.
Doak Walker, one of the 5 86 Hall of Famers that were presented here today. And there's Jim McMahon, we told you earlier. Will probably not be back. He has bruised the knee that he hurt in the Super Bowl, and has had an ice bag on it throughout the second half. As Freeman McNeil gets another AFC first down out to the 42-yard line. E.J. Jr. The Cardinals was there defensively. 5 new members of the class of '86 Pro Football's Hall of Fame introduced here today. Paul Hornung, who we'll hear from a little later on. Kenny Houston, the Houston Oilers, the Washington Redskins. Willie Lanier of Kansas City, Fran Tarkenton, and Doak Walker. First down and 10, the AFC. Freeman McNeil, a couple of yards to the 45. It'll be second down and 8. Tim Brant's on the sideline with Doug Cosby.
Frank, Doug just scored that touchdown, and this has been a terribly traumatic week for you, I know, Doug. Can you tell us about the tragedy?
Yeah, I had a good friend of my wife's and myself drowned on the North Shore, and we were over there the other day. And I'd just like to pass on my condolences to the Hanley family and all of his friends and family back in Texas.
This was on the beach when? Just 2 days ago?
Yeah, just 2 days ago. And, there was 4 or 5 of us went over there, and we all pretty much, saw the whole thing. And, it was just a situation where someone tried to go in and save him, and, they just couldn't do it. And none of us, had the capabilities or the right equipment to try to do anything. We just had to watch. It's pretty helpless.
Okay, thank you, Doug, for talking with us. That puts things in perspective, Frank.
Indeed it does. A terrible tragedy witnessed by the Dallas Cowboys tight end Doug Cosby. Meanwhile, the AFC has picked up another first down. Todd Christensen of the Raiders to the NFC's 42-yard line. O'Brien with a quick out, and he goes to Mark Clayton of the Miami Dolphins. And O'Brien, although he's not worked that much with Clayton, had that right on the target.
Yeah, and he has good timing, too, out there. The one
timing was perfect.
Great. To Louis Lips also. You'll see Clayton just coming out of his break here, and the ball's on the way. It's getting there quickly, too.
Well, Fouts mentioned that early in the game there wasn't much pressure by the NFC, and then they started to apply some pressure on this drive. They haven't put much pressure on O'Brien.
NFC trailing by 3. 9:34 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Freeman McNeil gets away from Richard Dent, but he does not get away from Mike Singletary. He'll lose a couple. It'll be second down and 12. Saturday, ABC Sports will present the U.S. Figure Skating Championships featuring the ladies competition, and it will be live except on the West Coast. Tiffany Chen is scheduled to defend her national title in the ladies event, and you'll also see all the beauty and the grace of the ice dance competition. That's ABC's Wide World of Sports beginning at 4:30 Eastern Pacific, 3:30 Central Time, Saturday here on ABC. Second down and 12 for the AFC. O'Brien goes underneath, and he finds Clayton once again. And Clayton works forward to the 25-yard line, short of the first down. It'll be third down and 4. And the flag is down.
Looked like a little roughing the quarterback by Otis Wilson.
That's a rare call you get here in the Pro Bowl. You got a lot of hitting, but usually nothing out of line.
Personal foul, number 55, defense, roughing the passer, enforced from the end of the play.
Take a look at it again. Otis Wilson banging into Kenny O'Brien a little late, and Otis Wilson had himself a great year for that Bears defense. That reminded me of the Dallas Cowboy game when he practically took up residency in the Cowboys' backfield during that win over the Cowboys 44-0.
And in defense of Otis also, he had his head down there. He couldn't tell whether Kenny had the ball or not that time.
Lou Chintzy.
And it did appear as though he could have really teed off on it. On first and 10, Freeman McNeil tries to bring it back inside. Tough to do against Ricky Jackson.
Yeah, Ricky did an excellent job of penetrating, forcing the play upfield, which is his first responsibility, warding off the blocker, and making the tackle.
It's a very impressive drive by the AFC, having the NFC score a touchdown and close the gap. They're doing what they need to get the upper hand again. They're keeping the ball away from them, and they may get some points here.
And taking the seconds off the clock. $5,000 difference, of course. $10,000 to the winner, $5,000 to the loser. And it starts to take on a little more significance about this time of the game. O'Brien with a lot of time. And it's picked off. Picked off in the end zone. Mike Singletary, the heart and soul of that Bear defense, stepped in front of the intended receiver, Ozzie Newsome. And the NFC, trailing by 3 points, gets the football back. They'll have it at the 20-yard line. And they have 7:57 remaining to play in the game. Good effort by Singletary. We'll be right back. One of them.
One of the great ones, son of a preacher man.
Singletary got the turnover for the NFC. They have the football back at their own 20-yard line. And Phil Simms goes right to work. Tries to squeeze it in underneath that zone to Joe Morris and could have lost it. Let's go back and take a look at it. O'Brien had all the time in the world, Joe, and this is what you would describe as an ugly interception?
Yeah, you know, all interceptions are ugly for quarterbacks, but the old coyote ugly comes in here. Anytime you're in scoring position, you don't want to lose yardage. You certainly don't want to turn the ball over. At least you want to go away with 3 points, and that's the worst mistake a quarterback could make. It was a good interception, but he threw the ball right to the defender, right to Mike Singletary.
For the AFC, 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 1 fumble. The NFC had 2, 1 interception and 1 fumble, and this is Roger Craig, left side, 3 yards, giving 4. It'll be third down and about 5. Tim Rand is with a great pal of mine, Paul Horning on the sidelines, class of '86, Hall of Fame.
Elected into the Hall of Fame, Frank, it is long overdue. Congratulations, Paul.
Thank you very much, Tim. It's good to be here finally.
Let me take you back over the years. What is your fondest memory in all those glory years for the Green Bay Packers?
Well, I guess having the opportunity to play for the coach, Vince Lombardi, and having had the opportunity to play on 4 championship teams. And looking back, I'd have to say that.
Do you still see the old guys every once in a while?
Oh, sure. I get back up there all the time. I worked at Green Bay Packer preseason, and I see McGee a lot. McGee and I still fool around a lot together, only now we don't get fined for staying out late.
Well, congratulations. I'm sure there was a couple times, when you must have thought this day may never even come.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I tell you, it's been a great week, and of course, it'll culminate back at Canton in about 6 months. So I'm looking forward to it, and I just want to, thank everybody who's been behind me all these years.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, Frank.
Horning played 9 years, scoring leader of the NFL, 59, 60, 61, suspended in 1963, and to me, he showed the most class and style of many football players I've known over the years when he handled that suspension for gambling on his own team at that time. And he handled it so well. Came back to once again perform like an all-star. Phil Simms on first down. Loses the football, but is covered quickly, and fortunately by Joe Morris. The pressure came from Rulon Jones and Andre Tippett.
And very good coverage downfield by Lance Mell and Carl Mecklenburg. What Simms was trying to do is hit Jimmy Giles on the crossing pattern, and both linebackers had beautiful coverage on Giles, and he couldn't get the ball to him.
6:02, and the clock is moving. That's the time remaining here in the fourth quarter of the Pro Bowl. The AFC holding on to a 3-point lead. They led 24-7 at halftime, but the NFC has roared back. Well, I wouldn't exactly call it roaring back, but they are back. Gerald Riggs huffing it around in the middle of that line by the AFC defensive unit headed by Carl Mecklenburg, who had a great season for Danny Reeves. Played just about every spot they had defensively for Reeves. Now in his third year, Mecklenburg, the 12th round pick out of Minnesota, has turned into a real all-star for those Broncos. Third down, long yardage. 3 wide receivers, and they're great ones. Mike Quick of the Eagles, number 82, Lofton of Green Bay, number 83, and Tony Hill. And now there are 4 wide receivers as Art Monk is in there with them. Simms throws under the coverage to Art Monk, who knew absolutely where he was. He gets the first down by less than a yard in front of linebacker Clay Matthews, and the NFC keeps their drive alive.
Fine heads-up play by Phil Simms, holding on to that ball, buying time by moving around, and of course Art Monk, the All-Pro, getting enough depth for the first down.
What a difference when you have a veteran and somebody like an Art Monk. He knew exactly where he had to be. Simms had a lot of field in front of him. Other quarterbacks might have taken off and run with it. Simms knew that on third and long he needed more than he would pick up running, and they get the first down. Morris, again the fake reverse, and Morris takes it back inside and breaks a tackle to the 35-yard line for another NFC first down.
I like Joe Morris. He says, you worry about faking the reverse. I'm getting this ball upfield. That's the second time he's done it. And the first time he gained 8 yards on this play, it appeared to gain about 12 to 13 yards.
You know, Bill Parcells has told us over the past couple of years, OJ, you were there last year, he said, we don't like to run him too much. He told us this last year. Bill Parcells has done a tremendous job back there at the Giants, along with general manager George Young. But all of a sudden this year, they were running him every time they had an opportunity to, and he really responded. 294 attempts, over 1,300 yards for the little man. And here's Gerald Riggs. He had over 1,700 yards rushing. He gets a couple. It'll be second down and 8. Tackled by Mecklenburg of the Denver Broncos. Gerald Riggs, who really came into his own at the beginning of the '84 season with the severe injury to William Andrews. He had 8 in '84. He had over 1,400 yards in this past season, as I mentioned, over 1,700 yards. Second down and 8. NFC trailing by 3. Phil Simms, great timing pass to Art Monk. Beautifully thrown. He delivered the ball before Monk had broken to the sidelines. Another NFC first down at the 15-yard line, and this was beautifully executed.
You're right, Frank. You put it on the money. Beautifully thrown. The timing was there. Monk just runs an out pattern, and with this kind of timing and the accurate pass, well, you're not going to defend against a play like that.
Take a look at the route of Art Monk. You have to respect Art Monk. He doesn't have a blazing speed, but he got the defender moving back. Louis Wright broke it off. The ball was in the air just as he broke, and it was picture perfect. And a first down for the NFC into the 15-yard line. The intensity building here. The NFC trailing by 3. We're late in the fourth period. Simms looking for the touchdown in the end zone to Jimmy Giles. And Giles of Tampa Bay comes down with the touchdown that puts the NFC ahead for the first time today.
I tell you, talk about pride in players of this caliber. Down by 17 points here in the third quarter. They are all the way back now. They're taking the lead, and I'll tell you, in this game, I've seen it happen more than once, and I played in 3 games when one team was at least 14 points down and came back to win the game.
Phil Simms now 15 of 27, 210 yards. He's thrown 3 touchdowns. Really have to admire this young man. So many years in the early going of his career, suffering with injuries. Last year, went the entire season over 4,000 yards, setting a giant record for yardage passing. And that includes Tittle and Connolly. He's having a great day. We'll be back as the NFC has the lead. Anderson hits it. And for the AFC, this is Dennis Smith bringing it out. And a bit of an open. Stays on his feet out to the 34-yard line. Frank Gifford along with O.J. Simpson and Joe Namath watching a good Pro Bowl. At halftime, it was 24-7. The AFC had the lead. Now, with 2:36 remaining in the game, the NFC leads 28-24 as Phil Simms has pulled together this NFC team and has tied Joe Theismann's record set in '84 with 3 touchdown passes. He's completed 15 of 27 for 210 yards. Now the job ahead for the AFC. They must move the ball the length of the field. And a field goal will not do it at this point. Ozzie Newsome, the great Cleveland Brown receiver, gets 8 over the middle of the 41. E.J. Jr. defensively there.
Hey, 2 Alabama players, former Alabama players.
Dan Fouts with a hurry-up offense. Wants to get a play off before the 2-minute warning and save that to stop the clock. And Marcus Allen makes the strategy pay off as he gets a first down at the 46-yard line. He'll try to get another one off, and he will not do it, I don't believe. And Fouts tried to get the play off before the 2-minute warning. He did not do so. The AFC has 3 timeouts remaining. We'll be back. The AFC trailing by 4 points as a first down. Benefit of Marcus Allen and Dan Fouts at the 46-yard line, their own 46-yard line. Fouts struggling to get the ball off. Not pretty, but he gets it to Wes Chandler at the 35-yard line. And Fouts was stumbling and tripping, was able to pick up his teammate deep downfield, and now Fouts rushes upfield and trying to get his entire team up to get another playoff. Here he is, Joe.
Look at Richard Dent put the pressure on Fouts. Fouts was able to keep his balance beautifully. What a tremendous effort by Fouts. And Richard Dent, I might add.
I tell you, Richard Dent worked over a couple of USC guys. He ran by Anthony Munoz and ran over Marcus Allen.
That man's dangerous out there.
25 years old, only his third year he just finished. He's already in his 2nd Pro Bowl. What's to come for Richard Dent? A world champion already?
The NFC has called timeout. Dan Fouts was trying to hustle the offensive unit, what remained of it, behind the line of scrimmage, up to the line of scrimmage to get it off. But the NFC decided they would use a timeout. Let's take a look at it again. That's Dent on the right, just hammering through Marcus Allen.
Well, not only did he run over Marcus, but then Munoz pushed Dent from behind, and that just gave it a little added momentum on Marcus.
Fouts got the Billy Kilmer type pass off, got it downfield. And what I mean by that is it isn't pretty, but it is certainly effective.
As long as it gets there.
Chandler now has 4 receptions for 114 yards. That's a new Pro Bowl record set by Ken Burrell, 1976. He had 4 receptions for 96 yards. So Chandler, who has been spectacular today, working with his teammate Dan Fouts, makes another big catch. It'll be first down and 10, the AFC at the 34-yard line of the NFC with 1:36 remaining in the game, and the AFC trailing by 4.
Now, if there's ever going to be a time that they may break a rule about blitzing, it'll be now.
4 down linemen. They can do that. Fouts. Picked off. Leroy Irvin. Irvin picks it off for the NFC and breaks it all the way back to the 43-yard line of the AFC.
And Joe, once again, John Robinson with that very conservative offense appears to have another victory.
Leroy Irvin, who used to be a special teams man for the Rams, a punt return man, makes the big play that could be worth $5,000 per man to the NFC squad. That's the difference between winning and losing, stepping right in front of the intended receiver, Irving Fryer, and then brings it back to midfield. This man has turned into a fine defensive back. You hear more about Gary Green, And you hear about Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes, and operating in the same city as Leroy Irvin, who now has completed 3 years as a starter for the Rams at that cornerback spot, and he has made a big play. Phil Simms, who has been spectacular today, hands off to Gerald Riggs, who just holds on to the football. I'll tell you, our ABC Sports exclusive has been brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. And by Allstate. For home, auto, business, health, and life, you're in good hands with Allstate. And by the U.S. Armed Forces. It's a great place to start. Phil Simms with a fine performance here at the Pro Bowl. Talking to John Robinson. Phil Simms, as I mentioned earlier, struggled through the first few years of his career as a #1 draft pick in 1979, the first draft pick by George Young, the general manager of the Giants. People said, who's Phil Simms? He was from Morehead State. Then he was often injured those first few years. And last season really was the first year in which he played up to his potential. He passed for over 4,000 yards, led the Giants to the playoffs, led them to a victory over the Rams in this past season. He was a winner once again. With not the same statistics, but very effective. And he has the NFC on the verge of another victory here today. You saw the move at top of your screen, Andre Tippett trying to get across the line of scrimmage. We'll remind you, coming up next, except on the West Coast, Cindy Williams will star as a wife looking for the perfect instant family to impress her husband's boss and help wanted kids. The first in a series of unforgettable motion pictures on the Disney Sunday movie, which, by the way, will also be seen in its entirety and at its normal time on the West Coast. Penalty marked off against the AFC. Down remains the same. It'll be second down and 5. The ball at the 43-yard line of the AFC. Riggs and Morris are assigned the job of holding on to the football. This is Morris, who also wisely stays in bounds and gets the first down. Great effort by Joe Morris.
Yeah, you can't ask more from a running back. He ran along those sidelines. He could have easily gone out of bounds and saved some wear and tear on his body, but he stayed in bounds, kept the clock running, and the AFC calls timeout.
Well, it may require a measurement as they mark it back at the 38-yard line, and they'll bring out the sticks. AFC now down to 1 timeout, by the way. Well, they measured off. Will it be the Bears, a dynasty, Joe? O.J.?
I think the Bears are going to be there for a while, even though Buddy Ryan did move on to the Eagles. They have such a well-rounded football team, offensively, defensively, kicking game. Yes, I think the Bears are going to be there for 2, 3, 4 more years.
I agree with you, Joe. Not only did they have a good scheme with that 46, if you look at their defensive personnel, it's an excellent group of ball players, and I expect if any team can repeat, I think more than any team I've seen in recent years, Chicago has the talent to do it. I expect to see the 49ers back next year if they can stay away from those injuries.
And in case you might not have heard, Buddy Ryan, the defensive coordinator of the Bears, has gone to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bears have hired Vince Tobin, who was with the Baltimore Stars and the Philadelphia Stars over the past 3 years. He'll be the defensive coordinator to replace Buddy Ryan. That'll be a tough job. Our telecast, by the way, presented by authority of the National Football League, is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the expressed written consent of the National Football League is prohibited. As the AFC uses their final timeout. And some of the NFC players, O.J., that have brought friends, relatives, families, wives, girlfriends, are going to be able to afford it. No surprise, the Outstanding Player Award today going to the Giants' Phil Simms. And once again, how proud those of us who have been associated with the Giants are of this young man. I talked about those heartbreaking years with the multiple injuries, and finally playing to the potential that George Young felt this young man had back in 1979 when he made him a first-round draft pick. And for Jim McMahon, who got the call to become a Pro Bowler with the injury to Joe Montana. Great performer in his own right. We remember that Minnesota game I talked about earlier. Not a good day for Montana, or rather for McMahon today. Suffered a bruised knee and a knee that was injured in the Super Bowl. He told Joe Namath yesterday. And his day, 1 of 6, an interception and a fumble.
Well, one thing I'd like to see this offseason, I'd like to see the players get together on this drug issue. I think if there's one player with a problem on the team,
it really does.
If there's one player with a problem on the team, I think the other players owe it to that guy to go into some type of drug testing. It may save a guy's life, and I think one guy may take 1 or 2 times a year. It may be a little inconvenient for him, but he may save one of his teammates' life by doing it, and I think the players are going to have to do something about that.
Indeed, and that's it. The NFC defeats the AFC 28-24. John Robinson congratulating his own player, Leroy Irvin, on a key interception. Saturday, join us for the Pro Bowlers Tour, followed by ABC's Wide World of Sports. Live coverage of the ladies' competition at the United States Figure Skating Championships, along with the always beautiful ice dancing championship at 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central Time, and 4:30 Pacific Time for our West Coast viewers. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, Cindy Williams stars as a wife looking for the perfect through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. For Joe Namath, O.J. Simpson, this is Frank Gifford thanking you for being with us all year.